Now YouTube should be up and running if someone can confirm for me. I'm sorry about that. Right is good drink, yes, indeed. Okay, there you go, chat. We can take off her glasses. She doesn't need the glasses. Like I said, I did get the tweet out. Do me the favor, go give it some love. What have I forgotten now? Like, I'm so discombobulated because everything went out of order here at the beginning. Okay. I got today's sauce for you all. Okay, I see you guys on the YouTube side. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. Could you possibly try to show off the Neco Arc MP? You'd have to tell me what the conditions are for it. I literally have not had the time to do anything. Like I've used Ciel, but I have not like been able to even pay attention because I've just done it like really quick in the morning and everything here lately. All right. Let me get that. Oh God, was that lag? Jesus. Okay. I'm just making sure everything's running appropriately here, guys. How's it going? Hope everyone's doing good. And hey, yes, everything going good. Thumbs up. Yes. Okay. Hi. She was no longer on beat. I'm sorry. I wonder if we'll get some kind of coin announcement at Anime NYC next week. I wouldn't count on it. Like, and I'm dead serious in this chat. I would not anticipate like NA gets anything until it's done on JP, right? Because it's only once that coding is kind of like resolved on the JP side of things that then they actually do end up bringing it over. Um, and I'm sure it'll not just be an easy one-to-one type of thing. So I would still give it time. Like I would say it's almost unreasonable to anticipate that like we would get an announcement. Now, maybe they could get out ahead of it and actually like say like, hey, once JP implements it, then we'll work on it, and they could say something. I expect that they'll probably want to not talk about it, mostly because I think they know it's a hot button issue anyways. So they'll probably just end up ignoring it. At least that's what I would think. Glad you got those black grails yesterday. Yeah, it's so nice. I haven't had the opportunity to do much of anything with that either. I did get all the units up on support for you guys, though, thankfully. So there is that. Do you think there are some worst bond Cs because the devs keep incentivizing us to bond 10 our units for some reason? Well, they've said that they want to like do something with bond Cs. We assume it's a quote unquote fix, but we don't really know what, why, or how, right? They also, at least from what I could glean of the interview, and again, like I'm actually going to start summarizing it here probably tomorrow, but from what I could tell, they did seem to hint that there is going to be some sort of like end of ordeal call type of like mechanic. So we'll see, right? Because we had like the whole bond mechanic with Solomon Temple of Time. So I wonder if we're gonna get a Solomon like ending to Ordeal Call. And I don't mean like, oh, it'll be the exact same thing. I just mean like you're gonna get some sort of like end chapter and it's gonna involve some sort of like nasty fights. Or discuss it till it's fixed. Yeah, pretty much, right? Like I can always humor how that sort of thing would happen, but I don't expect that you're gonna like really have much to be able to like talk about other than just pure conjecture. Because discussions are interesting. That's true. I mean, why discuss anything at all? I keep thinking the MC will die. I mean, I wouldn't say that's impossible, right? Like, especially if they did actually truly end the story, but I would say I don't anticipate that the MC will. Mostly because for a lot of reasons, it really seems to be kind of fucked if the MC has to go through all of this only to die in the end. I'm not going to say that there haven't been stories told that way, but I do at least feel like Nasu normally goes a little bit more on the lighthearted side of things rather than the like morbid side of things. Like if this were like George R. R. Martin, yeah, he's dead. He's dead as dicks. But with this being Nasu, it's like I'm sure there will be a sacrifice, but I don't know that it will necessarily be the MC. And I don't know that it'll necessarily even be the MC's life if the MC does have to make a sacrifice. A lot of our servant connections make zero sense. Yeah. Heaven's Feel. Yeah, I mean, that's like a very like interesting sort of like, hey, we kind of, did something there with the protagonist, but it was not like as bad as it first seemed. Is this George R. R. Martin? It would never end. What if I told you that this is Nasu and Nasu kind of has the same problem? I mean, Nasu does write stuff to actually have an ending, but like, yeah, no, he's straight up like he has taken and dragged his feet on quite a few projects over the years. Not quite as bad as George R. R. Martin at this point, but you guys know how it is. Let me switch over here. Okay. Let me grab you guys today's sauce. There it is for you guys on the YouTube side. There it is for you guys on the I almost said NA side, on the Twitch side. I stayed, I got retconned anyways. I mean, it's really interesting because we've had this discussion before that like some people are like, oh no. Like for instance, like, oh, like Rin just doesn't know what she's talking about. She's a unreliable narrator type deal. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's necessarily what's going on, because Rin has actually proposed to you to be somebody that like is quite knowledgeable. She is a prodigy in effect, and that's kind of how she's propped up in Fate's Stay Night. I'm not going to say she can't be wrong on some things, but I'm going to say, trying to say that like just about every single thing that Rin says that has now been disproven years later is because Rin was typecast as that way. I don't think she was. I think it's just, yes, the rules have changed over the years as Nasu's kind of had to expand things for various different IPs. And that is how a lot of it is explainable. It's just like, well, only in these sets of circumstances, right? So, for instance, and I don't want to get spoilery here, but I did hear today that Ciel does have a throwaway line in her bond that indicates that units from the Servant verse are not as strong outside of the Servant verse, which is great. Because honestly, the lore involving like Space Ishtar makes no sense otherwise. Like, if she is just truly that strong, why didn't we just basically have Space Ishtar just rove around kicking literally everyone's ass, right? So in that regard, yeah, I think it's like it's a-okay to have these sorts of exceptions in these one-off scenarios. To be fair, Nasu has the ultimate hack timelines. Yeah, straight up, right? And I'll say this, the less you play with time, the better. The more you play with time, the worse it gets to like follow your story and do stuff, right? Lore-wise, can't Abby erase all servants instantly? And I'm going to tell you it's probably going to be no, not outside of the very specific circumstances. And this is Nasu's writing style. Nasu writes with a very like affirmative and seemingly like all-encompassing style. But it's because Nasu has a tendency to write it from a like first person perspective. So like what you hear, what you see is basically what that character is hearing and seeing, and not necessarily like what the actual truth is. And so that can warp the perception of things. And it's why, like, you know, again, like I talked about this before, but you have the throwaway line in Fate Stay Night about like, you know, Shiro basically seeing like Saber die, and like he's like, oh my god, like I literally watched Herc kill her. And then like the next line, she's perfectly fine, because it's like he was so anticipating it that in his mind's eye, that's what happened. But it didn't actually happen. So that's a classic example that I like to use to demonstrate that like Nasu's style is just not necessarily the same thing as people believe it to be, right? A lot of people don't really seem to understand sort of what he's trying to accomplish with that writing style, and they don't even maybe necessarily recognize that that's what's going on. The special MPs in A2. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say, I knew there was a specific ascension, so thank you for the reminder. I'll switch it after this. Nikki is stupid sexy. Yes, she is. Gil can nuke some things too, but that doesn't mean he'll do it. Yeah, I mean, like, and this is another interesting one, because we have all these like sorts of lore arguments in the Fate universe, and you know, my understanding of this is like, for instance, I've had people say like, okay, well, Gilgamesh is the strongest person in Fate, and I'm like, all right, you know, we can humor that idea. The issue with that sort of thing is like we have very conflicting like power structures in Fate. And so like, for instance, oh, he's the strongest person in Fate. Why? Because he has clairvoyance that he never uses, and that he has, you know, the ability to basically destroy the world, which, okay, cool, he's going to destroy the world. Cool, Artoria beats him then. Why? Because that's literally her gimmick. If you're going to destroy the world, she's going to outscale you, basically. So at that point, we can definitely look at these things and say, like, yes, someone might be stronger than someone else, but it usually requires specific sets of circumstances to be true, right? So it's really like, I'm okay with the discussions as long as people don't take them like super seriously. Like I've seen people get involved in lore discussions, and especially for like power scaling, and they get really butthurt about stuff. And I'm like, guys, come on. Like, you got to understand that there's so much extra crap flying around that, like, for instance, yeah, you do have an actual instance of like basically, let's do it like that. Basically, you know, again, like Shiro beating Gilgamesh, right? Which has no business actually occurring. But in that specific moment, it happens. Why does it happen? Because the writer wanted it to. Anything is possible when the writer wants it to happen. And that's another thing that's been talked about. Like, if you go look at like comics, like who's stronger, like the Hulk or God, what was the other one? Was it like Superman or something? I don't remember, right? And like someone asked that of Stan Lee, and Stan Lee just basically said, well, you know, who's the protagonist? Who am I writing the story about? Because that's what matters. That's who's going to end up winning the fight, right? Like, due to protag powers, they're going to make it work, and that's okay, right? But that's something that I think people should at least pay attention to, that like, hey, yeah, this is what's actually going on. Well, I guess I don't need an NP for this last one. Oops, tee. Bonk. There's also the issue of newer Nasuverse works changing what was once the power scale. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like there's so much like stuff flying around at this point in the Type Moon universe as a whole, that like it just is what it is. It's like I think there's so many contradictory statements, and like I said, I get people that all the time try to like argue with me and say like, oh, well, Cad, you know, this or that is the case. And I'll point out to them how I don't think it is. And they'll be like, well, I have proof. And I'll be like, yeah? I'm like, let's not even do this, because you might have proof. And I can just as easily go straight into the lines and find contradictory proof. And then you're going to have to try and be like, well, but not and like that's the whole point. Is it's just going to get stupid. It's just going to devolve into like a he said she said because we both end up having like contradictory points of proof. Also, in those discussions, usually don't have 90% of the information because they're wrong. Yeah, I mean, just in general, that's usually people like it, a lot of it ends up being like the typical shonen power argument, like who's stronger, Goku or Vegeta? Who's stronger, Goku or I don't know, fucking Harry Potter or some shit, right? Like, and it doesn't matter. It's just usually somebody like, you know, is deeply involved. So it's like, who's stronger, Artoria or Gilgamesh? And I'm gonna have a case for Artoria, right? Why? Because oh my god, it's my bias. I really like Artoria. So it's a natural thing basically for that to happen. In general, using a versus battle logic in Fate is stupid. Yeah, I mean, I think it is what it is, right? Like, I naturally see how that can happen. Okay, I'm just making sure I didn't unlock anything else. I assume I get more points at a certain level. Actually, how am I doing? I think I can actually buy some of the CEs and I haven't been paying attention. Yep. Okay, so one of the gold and literally the bronze. So I assume I need to start running these. Because we have a crap ton of time. I have not looked at like how long the ladder is, and I wonder are we gonna have some sort of deal where like low key the point ladder takes longer because of how long we have to complete the event. I assume they wouldn't do that to us, but I kind of want to make sure that that's not the case. Is it 3 mil? Let's see. Yeah, it's 3 mil. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Like, they could easily still change the scaling of the event if they change the reward structure, if they change, like, how many points you're getting per run. But, yeah, I assume they won't do that. So we'll have to see. Okay, so let's go back in here. I believe this is a bronze node. And chat wants me to show off the Neco Arc MP. Let's put her in the second form. Wing. 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 Okay. Hello, Angora. That's yesterday's node? Is it? Yes, it is. It's this one up here, isn't it? No, wait. Huh? Yeah, there we go. The ruler node. Okay. Sorry. I've sat here and I've like gotten so turned around by this event at this point. Okay. So it should still be the same deal. Um yeah, why not? Let's just do this. I think it'll be safer if I do. All drops here. Yep. Oh, it's fine. I'm still gonna end up doing well. Yeah, I guess I probably should switch to gold at least for right now because I have the one extra point that I can get, or sorry, the extra gold C copy that I can get. Okay, should be fine. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Then let's swap. And voila. Well, I don't even need the... Well... I better do this just to be safe. There we go. Now it is card locked, and those cards ain't going nowhere. And so, chat, this is like, this strategy is not going to work for you in like 90 plus plus or anything like that, because like right now we've got Ciel having like damage bonus and everything. But oh yeah, no, you can straight up just 3-turn nodes with carding and single target NPing. And yeah, there you go, the Neco Arc MP. What the fuck? Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I gotta keep her in this form now. God damn it. Creatura exterminatus, indeed. So there we go. Then we do that. And literally, chat, this is just all I have to do. That's it. Just keep doing this. Neco missile inbound. Yep. Yeah, let's turn it on. I just that still, it just makes me so happy just to see Miranya. Okay, this one I gotta be a little bit spicier with how I handle. Oh, hold on. Do it like that. Good, I can't wait for her. Yeah. Cannon will hurt you. I didn't realize it was every time. I thought this was a rare animation. That's so much better that this is every time. This year is gonna absolutely ruin me, but worth. It's not every time, but it's very common. I mean, I just got a 3 out of 3, right? So I guess I got lucky, but holy crap. There's 2 variants? What's the other variant? Yeah, let me see if I can at least switch some of these to the gold C. Gonna yoink that art? Sure, go for it, Dirty. Can always yoink. Happy Neco? Oh, instead of angry? I think that's just HP up. That's the sign of a smiling face variant. I don't know that that's that much better than what I'm already using, but no, I don't want that. Give me that. You know, I probably should be running the point Cs more than anything. But let's see, if I slot in... Do it like that. Let's take Shufu out for right now. Throw Mash in. Just enough. My point C give. Quicken Buster. Okay, so we'll switch to that. Then... yes, I do have somebody that has an MLB. And again, I don't have her first skill like maxed out. I don't even have any of her appends purchased yet, but that is more of a cat having time to do it type deal than anything else. That doesn't have gold though, does it? It's only bronze and some silver? Wait, chat just said it was an alt node. Did I literally just get baited by chat? Yeah, I thought it was the bronze nodes. That's why I was like, oh wait, no, I must be mistaken. Chat would never. God damn it. Every freaking time. Yeah, so again, chat, the strategy here is basically just double Koyan Skya. You end up charging her up, and then straight up, you just end up swapping for BB. And just hitting that card lock, and now you've just got the cards. And basically with Ciel, and we'll talk about this when we do the unit analysis here in a bit, but Essentially, you're getting so much charge back from her cards and her NP. I don't have Summer BB, I understand. Get one guide, it's okay. Someone today on Twitter made me laugh because they were asking if the fifth opin making Arc even more broken and Ciel being rather good if the meta in FGO is just Tsukihime. I saw that post. They're not entirely wrong. Like, I'm not gonna say like Arc is our highest damage dealer in the game, but the fifth opin absolutely does help her. It significantly improves her damage. She is definitely now back in the running for like one of the top damage dealers. Ciel, we'll talk Ciel numbers because like I don't want to like stick my foot in my mouth too soon or something here, but you'll see. Us never, exactly. Still want to see the happy variant. Oh, this is it. There is no Neco here because this is slower. How is it? How did I end up doing 4 NPs in a row before I saw the vanilla version? Like, what the shit? That's wild to me. That must be a super high rate. Neco luck, I guess. I would like to point out, chat, that attack where Neco Arc shoots them with the lasers is literally just Nito's Medjed attack. Yeah, so that was 5 out of 6 attempts that we got it. Ciel and Neco Arc are tied together in that portion. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. Like I said, honestly, I just wish that's how it was all the time. That's great. Like, all right, let's go change the craft essences again. Since chat's managed to absolutely debate me here. Hold on. You know what? No, we're not even going to take chat's word for it. I'm going to double check myself. Okay, it is bronze and silver, as I thought. You know I like my girls a little bit older tonight. This is my arc drive. Nice. They gave you trust issues. I've learned at that point where I have chat saying conflicting things to just double check myself, because that's how I always get in trouble, is when I trust chat too much. It's always like when I get lazy and I trust chat that it gets me in trouble. I have learned to do my own due diligence. There we go. I'll still keep the point season though. Oh, I could have switched the backlight. No! Ed from Ed, Ed and Eddie sings the song great. Yes. Kind of weird seeing people hype for face card farming, but it's something different, so I'm happy. Well, this is why I think, like, I've seen people like trying to almost downplay Ciel, and I don't really understand why. She's really good. However, I will say again, like, this strategy will not work, like, probably outside of summer, other than for like garbage nodes. You could certainly like buffer up quite a bit, but do understand that like the damage that's getting done by my cards will be cut in like half, right? So that's just naturally going to be an issue. you're gonna have issues trying to like outcard. Granted, there will be ways that you can enhance that, and particularly doing things like, you know, obviously like having good craft essences, foeing her, you know, grailing her and all that stuff. It's naturally gonna help that, but it really just depends on like what you're trying to do yourself. See, like, that's against the Berserker, so I'm already 1.5 times effective, and I have the damage bonus in the event. So, like, even to get true Berserker damage, like, we did over, like, 120k with one Buster crit there, so. She's anti-saber just because, yeah, that's the one that's, like, I understand with her lore why she is. I just don't understand why they made her Moon Cancer at that point. Like, why didn't you just make her an archer? Because holy shit. And then we would have actually like been like, yo, archers have a great archer now. Dad, is it the same NP in her first ascension as well? Hey, thank you, Kood. Thank you for the 23. Appreciate it, my man. Archers using bows, how absurd. Yeah, everyone knows that the Moon Cancer class is really made up of archers. Wait, did they change this? Okay, it is still hers. I wasn't sure. Neco is only in Ascension 2, if I remember correctly. Okay. But do all good servants got to be extra? Not all good servants are extra, but what we have seen is there has been a like hyper focus on the extra classes for like the last 2 years. Part of that's Ordeal Call. The other part of that is just I think the devs have realized they needed to flesh out the extra classes. But, you know, obviously looking at the summer banners here, it's like it's kind of wild just how hard in the paint they went for the Moon Cancers. Moon Cancers were our least populated class, you know, beside Beast, which is brand spanking new. But definitely there were some issues there. Well, I say that, I'm trying to remember. I think they were neck and neck with Pretender at this point. But again, like, you know, those latter two are like far, far newer than something like Moon Cancer is. Moon Cancer is basically doubled in unit number. They haven't doubled, but they have certainly gotten like a third more just from this event, which is kind of wild. If you count Super Ryan as single target, I don't count Super Ryan as single target. Need another extra slot on the support list. Indeed. Book, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Now they need to fill the Pretender class with tons of new characters. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that they won't do that sort of thing in the future, but I think they'll wait till a like advantageous moment to really flesh out Pretender more. Okay, we're already done on that end. I guess we just start gobbling costumes here. I can't read whose costume is whose, but I assume since this is the bronze mat, this is our 3-star male costume. Bart, yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah, I said 3-star. I forgot it's Bart again. Which, chat, I did attempt to do my Grail casting from like this month on JP, because again, you know, we're halfway through the month, so I need to get it done. Which we did do quite a bit of rolling yesterday, so I managed to have enough coins to basically do like 1.5 Grails. So like I ended up basically having 3,000 coins. But I still need like another 1,000 to finish. Which is funny because I sat there and I asked myself, like, should I start like should I start, you know, doing a pins 4 and 5 on my low stars? And I actually did it on 1 or 2 of them, and then I immediately went, no, I shouldn't. And the reason why is because I'm going to end up getting, you know, like we talked about, like over 100,000 coins back. So I was like, I need to keep grail casting for now. And then what I'll do is once the fix comes, I'm going to take this 100,000, I'm going to do a pins 4 and 5, and then any leftover coins go to grails. How much damage? 900. But to be fair, it was 900 quartz for NP3 Ciel, NP5 Dobrynia, and NP7 Shufu, plus 2 black grails that I have not seen a black grail in 4 years. So that's why I made the executive decision to keep rolling. You have any interest in rolling the summer BB banner? No, none whatsoever. Who are you? Are you new to this channel? Oh, yeah! Yeah! Now you're remembering. Thanks, Leah, for stabbing the Shufu doll. She really did. She stabbed it as hard as... Well, it wasn't a Shufu doll. She stabbed a voodoo doll of my VTuber model. That's clearly what was going on. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing embers. I can't really think of like anything else I want to do. Sadly, we lost like the rate up for like all the embers. Wait, was today Saber or Rider? Saber. Well, chat, you know what that means. You know what? Screw it. Use Jarcher. Let's bond up my Jarcher. Not that I need to, but let's bond up my Jarcher more. Why not? You sell your VTuber model as a voodoo doll? No. No, she just made one herself, right? You will definitely not roll on the BB Dubai banner. Yes, I will definitely not roll on the banner that has a saber face. You are correct. You figured me out. Wait, why do I have a Summer Scotty in here? Oh yeah, this was a quick comp before now. Well, chat, behold, bear witness. Gaze upon my Jarcher loop and discover how bullshit some of the arts units can be. Yeah, I just realized that Summer Etchan could have been our Moon Cancer Artoria. Now I'm sad. Yeah, I was surprised at that point. Like, my only disappointment with her is that they just made her yet another foreigner. Like, we already had 2, especially like Mixa was already a foreigner. So like, I really was hoping that they were gonna make it something else, but I guess not. Oh, chat, did you think I needed a second Castoria to loop? I'm sorry. Quick farming and arts looper? Yes. As God intended. Do you hope double XA is AoE? I mean, yeah, at least partially because I have a grailed 120 MH double X. So like I've got the single target covered there. I obviously have Mixus welfare, but it's like this is a gotcha unit. So if they wanted to make her like, you know, like AoE and maybe like, I don't know, like Buster or something like that, or even Quick again, but maybe give her like more charge or something in the kit, I'd be a-okay with it. But I don't really expect that they will make it another like AoE Quick, right? Like I expect if they're gonna make it also AoE, it'd be a different card type, and if not, they're going to just straight up make it single target just to differentiate it. At which point, maybe she'll be single target Quick, right? Which actually, let me look at something real quick. Foreigner. We don't have a single target Quick Foreigner, do we? Oh no, Wangina. Okay. I'm thinking Wangina was AoE for some reason. I mean, like, you could argue Van Gogh is, but... But yeah, then she would be... She might potentially be a single target Quick 4-star, and that would at least be something. Miss Australia, yeah. Is the next Gouda Gouda event coming at the start of next month? Yeah, the next event on NA shouldn't be till the beginning of September. So, like, chat, we still have, like, at least 2 weeks dead time on NA. I do think they'll fill it in with something, but, you know, your guess is as good as mine. Maybe we get it back to school. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you at this point because it's seemingly quite odd for how they're structuring things. Making Blapples? Yeah, I mean, I don't blame anyone for making Blapples right now. Like, there is half-cost Embers. I'm still going to keep doing that, but I can easily see how other people will just be like, nope, don't care. Okay. Road to LB7 is next week? Yeah. I'm doing story now at Hey and Kyo. Nice. I will tell you, don't forget you don't have to do Hey and Kyo. So if you're trying to like really catch up, you can skip it. Like particularly if you're trying to like get caught up on JP. I do think it's worthy of doing, but like I'm just saying, like if your goal is to actually like prioritize getting stuff unlocked. Finally getting around to Ibaraki, I see. Yeah, quite literally, because I have embers that I'm full on that I really can't do anything else with, so I may as well just level her, because I'm at the point of just like, I don't know, right? Like I gotta like spend the embers. I quite literally am not going to get another grail until like, let's see, I think the Gouda Gouda event, I think it has one. So it's like probably not until the event, or not until the month rolls over. Mr. Chubbs, thank you for the raid. Welcome everybody. How's it going? That was the summer translation stream. The double alert. Thank you again for the raid. Welcome, everybody. For those of you guys that are new here, hi, my name is Khadroth. I stream FGO pretty much every weeknight, and you know, do a bunch of variety on the side as well. But if you guys are, again, new to either me or Trubs, make sure you give Trubs a follow at least. He's a fantastic buddy of mine. He's a member of my stream team and basically our resident Japanese translator expert. It was lots of BB. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised given the event. Tired, hyped, and exciting. Nice. I'm glad you guys had fun. Ooh, H23, thank you for the 2 years. Appreciate it, my man. Are we too late for the Ciel analysis? No, I'm actually going to be doing that here shortly. I am trying to get my AP down. You guys know I normally start out streams by doing that. I like to at least like make sure I'm in a good spot. Oh god, MP3 Ciel, yes. That was we were showing off her Neco Arc ascension earlier. It's freaking hilarious. I love it. Buranyu, yes. I can't do Embers because I'm full on second archive and have 200 plus in my inventory. That's like where I'm at this point, and like just to show you, right? Like I have no grails, so like there is not much that I can do at this point. So I quite literally can only spend Embers, and you guys can see I actually do have some. I quite literally can only spend Embers on my next 120 project, of which that is as high as I can go without more grails. Or, yeah, I mean, I guess I can dump them into my free saber for the second copy. But, like, I'm just going to keep doing it because there's not much else to do. I guess I could go farm, like, the Trom free quest, but that would be pretty much it. That's pretty much the only other thing I can do at the moment, because I'm too far ahead on materials on it. So in that regard, I don't mind actually having the opportunity to farm. Let's throw in our new pretender here, since we pretty well know that we don't need the extra. And actually, I'm also limited. Like, I have to get this 253 bond. I have to get to the next bond level to be able to finish her to 120. Because I am ever so slightly shy on coins. Because I think, if I remember correctly, I did 2 of her appends. Yeah. So I did the anti-saber append because it's really good on MHX here. Because again, she's a assassin, but she has an anti-saber skill. So combine that with an anti-saber append, and voila, you have a third append that's actually useful. For once. Esports Artoria. Yeah. 2 things that surprise me is that we haven't had a Saberface Moon Cancer nor a male Moon Cancer. You know, that is an interesting thing. I am surprised we haven't had a male Moon Cancer, but granted, like, this is always the weird, like, nature of Moon Cancer is kind of like with, like, Ruler. It's one of those classes where lore-wise, there's really just not supposed to be a bunch of people that have it. And yet, being a gacha game that's a waifu collector, like, yeah, there are just a ton of people. Archimedes, that'd be an interesting one. You know, maybe Shinji. Shinji would make a very interesting Moon Cancer. He would definitely have the cancer part down. Twice Peaceman could be the male. Yeah. Yeah, like, it's not that there aren't candidates at this point, but I don't know, right? It really depends on the direction they want to take the class. People would roll Shinji just to burn him. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Kiara still from BB. Arc is Arc literally Moon Princess. Sure. Now do the others. Explain the others for me. And Janako has her lore. That sounds kind of like a cop-out, but sure. He still dies in like 3 hits though. Gotta hate, but love this glass cannon Zerks. Yep. I could never waste my quartz doing that. Oh, listen. The people that would do that are people that have the money to do so and are just insane, right? I mean, I'm sure like somebody would do it purely for content, but like it's just one of those deals where yeah, some people will just they'll do it just to you know, again, just for the shits and giggles, right? You can see a picture of a JP whale rolling 100 Shinjis and burning them all. I don't know about 100. That feels excessive, but I can definitely see somebody rolling like 10 plus, right? Not that that's also not excessive. It is, but people do be. Some people do it to brag about it on social media. Yeah. Kat, did you get a chance to see Karna's new skill animations as paired with Janako? No, I did not. Which is interesting to me. Is that just with the new, like, costume? Or is it something else? Does Arcuid not count as a saber face? No, she doesn't, sadly. She does not have the traits. I do like Arcuid, though, for obvious reasons. Do I donate that money to a charity? Fuck that, I want a Gamba. See, that's where they're getting it all wrong, right? Like, we need like a charity casino. We need something where it's like, yo, you're gambling, but when you lose, everybody else wins. And then everybody roots for your failure. Arcuid predates Saber. Wait, what do you mean, Arturo? Like, we didn't get like Tsukihime until after Arcuid had come into FGO. Arcuid from Fate Grand Order is one of my favorite characters. We call that the stock market. Okay, true, but unfortunately that's not a charity at that point. Dad getting forgetful? Or rollish. Moon cancers are divided in 3. Those granted the class, example Janako. The ones that stole it, example Kiara, and weird ones like Arc. All right, do BB. don't do BB, because obviously I'm aware of what the explanation for BB is, and if you talk about BB too much, we might end up spoiling the current event. BB is BB, indeed. There are charity auctions, yeah, and that's what I'm thinking, but they need to make it like charity Gamba instead of a charity auction. Auctions are just like Gamba PvP, where it's just you versus like 1 or 2 other people, right? Versus like, yeah, when you are actually like gotching, it's just pure random chance. That's how you get that gambler's high. Auctions are just Gamba PvP. They are! I mean, like, tell me I'm wrong. I know y'all have sat there on, like, eBay and shit. You gotta have the strategy, you gotta have the reaction time, you gotta like sit there and like, you know, stalk out the target. Auctions are the real whale wars. Yeah, exactly. It's the dedication this man has to Merlin. Base Karna does the skill animations too if paired. Interesting. Yeah, no, I haven't tried that. To be fair, well, I guess I could try it on JP. I was gonna say I can't try it on an A. In A, I don't have you know, Janako yet. Somehow I have managed in all this time to avoid getting spooked on my NA account. Meanwhile, my JP, despite not wanting her, has NP3 of her. Yet, oh yeah, listen, I consider it an inevitability. Still waiting for Cad to check DMs? What do you mean? What did you send me? No. No, Steve, I will not trade teeth with you. Oh, I see Darty sent me the Neco NP. Hello, Drink. How's it going? Come on, trade teeth with me? No, I'm good. I feel like I already have enough nightmares of, like, my teeth falling out. Like, I don't get nightmares very often, but I have definitely, like, one of the recurring nightmares that I've had, like, throughout all of my years is, like, I wake up and, like, have no teeth. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's prophetic. Maybe I'm gonna be old and I'll have, like, dentures. Sounds like Mr. Cad needs to floss. Probably. That Saber was modeled off of Arc. I think it's been talked about before. I think, like, yes, the answer is, like, they're loosely, like, connected. But I don't know if it's a, sorry, I was rubbing my eyes, so my model was freaking out there. I think it's, like, a case of it is truly a, like, very loose one. They kind of wanted, like, because remember, like, the original design of Saber was that, like, Saber was supposed to just be Arthur, like Proto-Arthur. So I think at that point they just decided, like, oh, okay, let's make her a woman, and then when we make her a woman, how do we want her to look? And I think that's where they maybe came up with a similar, like, idea of, like, Arcuid. Chat as VTuber needs to give chat uppies. You have an emote for that, chat. You have an emote for that. It's a very cute emote too. You know what? Screw it. Cards your stupid hand ass. Have sex with her? Thank you, Power. It's very, very important contribution to chat you just made. Dreams about people losing their teeth usually means they're anxious or stressed about something. Oh, that makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Like, gee, I wonder if I'm stressed about anything. I wonder if I'm anxious about anything. Hey, you know Fate was an adult game? I do know that. Did you know that Rin's anus is defenseless? It's actually her true weak point. You just gotta give her ye old shining finger. Are you anxious about trading teeth with me? Yes, I am anxious that if I trade teeth with you, Steve, that my teeth will fall out. I will never get teeth back. Speaking of which, did anyone try the Mecha Break beta? I was just curious what people thought about it. Because there's one thing that'll get me to try out a game. It's a really robust character creator where I can make hot women. Thought it was pretty fun. What's Mecha Break? Mecha Break is like, how do I put this? Kind of like a squad based, like third person, like, does it have first person chat? Like third person, like Mecha Battler, like where you can fly around and everything. Think of it like Armored Core meets the like Gundam Overwatch, like Gundam Evolution type game. Saber Arturia is more like Hisui. I don't know about that, but custom robo? I don't know if it's truly custom. Again, I haven't played, so chat would have to tell me. The remake doesn't have H scenes, right? Correct, but I'm sure someone will mod that. Now that I have all major supports on all cards, I am contemplating which color I want to prioritize now. Okay, Zaruku, here's my advice to you. Don't prioritize a color. Prioritize waifus and husbandos. I just got here. I don't know what we're talking about. You know, sometimes neither do I. Sometimes I think I'm just crazy. I ran out of all silver statues on JP. Which should I prioritize first? I mean, you already kind of know what the next banner on JP is, so ask yourself first if you're going to roll that. If you're not going to roll that, then I think you just go with whichever class you seemingly have the least of. Because it stands to reason that it's probably the class that you'll end up needing the most on. I fully faux pod 120 Hokusai. I'm ready for her buff now. Nice. Caster Scotty might now... Caster Scotty has now the highest bond. Nice. Scotty team at the moment when bond raising. Yeah. Surely we'll have another statue Lotto someday. Honestly, I don't think they're ever going to give it to us. And the reason I don't is I think that, like, it's one of those materials that they, one, have addressed for a lot of early game accounts well. And then two, I think they don't want you to ever get, like, permanently ahead of. Like, because they know they already missed that with all the early players. So I think what they're trying to do now is just make sure that there is, like, some control over its, like, economy, so that they can make sure that it's not flooded and that you never end up needing them ever again. It's going pretty good, Heike. How are you? Are there statue nodes in Ordeal Call? There are. They're not particularly good, though. If only we could vote for the Da Vinci Lotto again. Yeah, last time they restricted the voting to only the last, like, only like year 5 and onward. One statue and one skill gem Lotto per you would be great. See, you say that, Persh. In all seriousness, no, it'd be terrible. And the reason why is because like nobody would farm the statue Lotto after the first one. Like, and I'm dead serious, right? Like, people would just go like, oh, this is actually not really worth it. They would have to give like other reasons for you to farm it. Because once you get ahead on statues, you're ahead and you don't need them anymore. I think you need to kick the jukebox. Is it not working? Of course it's not. It'd be good for new players. It would, but you got to consider that new players are only a certain portion of the population at any given moment. And that with every group that goes through, they are converted to old players. There it is. What statues for ascending? Yeah, I mean, like, so for instance, chat, like, we can go look at my whoops, we can go look at my my NA here. I ain't gonna need any of these, even for like future servants and class score, like all of that. I'm done. I already have more than enough, and this is just literally from like, you know, the first couple lottos. So that's what I'm saying, is like you would reach a point where you just have such a commanding lead that you would never really need them ever again. So it's like if they wanted to give a statue lotto now, after like years and years and years there not being one, that's okay. Running one every year would be rather pointless. Anyone who joined post Da Vinci Lotto screwed though? I wouldn't say screwed. Like for instance, we can go look at my JP in comparison, right? So my JP certainly does not have nearly as many, right? But am I dry? No. No, I'm not out of any of my statues. Right? So like, you can certainly work your way to a point that you're ahead. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I haven't really touched a training ground on JP after like year one of me playing. Like seriously, like I've been playing JP now for over like 6 years, and I've only ever touched a training ground in the first year. You know, I say that like I'm sure there's like a one-off moment where like for a mission or something I had to, but I don't like farm training grounds. It's not how I got ahead of this. I got ahead of this basically by virtue of just doing events and getting the statues out of events. Well, now JP lottos are useless. It's really interesting because I do wonder if that's why we're only going to probably get one this year. I actually wonder if they're slowing down lottos because they realize that the player base doesn't largely need it. They regularly give us statues with events anyway, so statue lotto isn't needed. Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Is like, if you really desperately need some, you can go farm the training grounds. But outside of that, if you're just patient, you get them from the events and you're fine. It better be a damn good lotto for only getting one this year. I think it'll just be a normal lotto. Lottos are too OP, I thought, for players, and that's why they refused to make them 3 weeks. Yeah, I assume that they basically don't want the reward structure to go on for that long. Probably because I think they also see that there is a level of like burnout where players hit their goals, but also because there is a point at which like allowing extra time just means that more and more and more and more and more players would get to like this catch-up point that they, you know, wouldn't want them to hit. 5-star embers kind of killed the Lottos. No, they didn't kill the Lottos. Like, chat, if you're only doing the Lottos, like, say, for skill gems or for experience, like, you're probably going about it the wrong way. And I'm dead serious on this, because you know what the best thing in a Lotto is? It's these Ascension mats. This is where you actually get the most bang for your buck. So it's like, it's Ascension mats are the true end game. You're never technically done with all of them. That we kind of know, because they make that their goal. They don't want you to ever finish completely. So it's like, you can finish one mat, but by the time you finish, you know, some of your mats, usually they've added more by that point in time. And when you're truly done with materials, at that point, you're done with the farm. And then you don't have anything that you have to do. Mats and Lottos are ass? My account begs to differ. Like, I guess my better question is, where would you find a good opportunity to get hordes of materials? Because it sure as hell ain't free quests. You can get, obviously, like, materials during events. That is a normal thing as well, but... like, yeah, I mean, especially for the bronze materials alone, like, there are some materials that you need over 9,000 of if you want to complete all the units in the game. And I'm not saying everybody will be at that point, but no, the only way to, like, collect that much in abundance is usually from Lottos. Mats are never ending. Yep. They will always keep adding new needs to the game. I still would like them to add some piece in each event. Or what do you mean? Books are terrible to farm outside of Lottos. Yeah, I mean, in general, trying to farm just off normal free quests is pretty bad. That's why the Ordeal Call nodes are a very much blessing in disguise. Lottos tend to have the same mats all usual events. There have been points where it's been kind of streaky with them, but no, not overall. Like, for instance, chat, we finally got a shell Lotto on JP, and behold, I'm not going to say I'm done with my shells permanently, but, like, chat, this is enough shells that I'm done with shells for, like, the next, like, 4 or 5 years. And remember, I've already also skilled just about everybody on the first banner for this, and that's still how many shells I have. They had new needs to old servants as well with the pins. Yeah, that's definitely an interesting thing that they've done there. And that is kind of why they've done it and why I predicted that they would do it, right? Like, you know, again, like, we can go back to that and I can say that I obviously didn't want to be right about that, but all the signs really in my brain pointed to it, and it seemed rather obvious to me that that is something that the devs would do to try to expand the system that currently already existed. Over 9,000? Yeah. I mean, listen, chat. Let's go look back at the NA account again. How do you guys think I got so many materials? And you're probably like, oh, well, look at this. These aren't that many. It's just his gold mats. Yeah. Yeah. It's Lottos. That's how I got so many. Like, and I'll be real with y'all for a second here, too. I have straight up told, like, mega whales that I've known to stop farming in, like, shitty free quests. I have seen mega whales sit there and just, like, pop quartz in a normal free quest with no bonus, no benefit. And I've just been like, you're just wasting money. Like you need to actually target certain materials at a like better place. And it's been really interesting having those discussions with them, because a lot of the times, I'm not going to say it's like ignorance so much as it is that they didn't realize that there was a more lucrative farm coming up in the future. Chad probably did 1,000 boxes every lotto. No, chat knows my mantra. Chat, how many boxes do I do in a lotto? Yep. The fact that chat can regurgitate that means that that's how many like times I've said it, and that's how many times it has been a thing over the years. So pretty much going all the way back to the original lottos on an A, I quickly realized that I needed about 500 boxes per lotto. Doing that much was the right amount for my account. The amount that like each individual account needs is going to be different depending on how many units you roll and like how many, because like lotto boxes serve numerous purposes. It's not just about the ascension mats, right? Like you get the ascension mats, you end up getting FP, you end up getting skill gems, you end up getting mana prisms. So like, and QP on top of all that, right? So like, it's really good to like top off. Oh, and embers. I'm literally still remembering shit, right? But it's literally ends up being a like top up moment for your account every time a lotto rolls by. So that's where it's like, you know, people that are perpetually out of QP, this is why I don't have this issue. People that are perpetually out of embers and don't have their servants max, this is why I don't have this issue. People that are perpetually out of FP and can't like roll it out to do grail casting, this is why I don't have that issue. People that are out of skill gems and can't level their skills, that's why I don't have this issue. People that are out of mana prisms and can't buy stuff out of the mana prism shop every single month, this is why I don't have that issue. It's all because of lottos. It's I'm gonna say yes, I do get these materials from like other places like events and campaigns, but the lion's share of them usually does end up coming from a lotto. As a day 3 player, I mainly lack mats like pages, horseshoes, homunculus, etc. All new mats are in abundance. See, it's really interesting that you say that, because I don't need those materials. And the whole reason I don't is lottos. Like in all seriousness, I farmed the lottos back then, and I farmed them in you know, at least enough quantities that I knew that my current account standing would be taken care of. And I'm not like trying to say this to like dunk on you or anything. I'm just trying to point out that like how I did it back then is I said, okay, this is a lotto giving me like this mat, this mat, this mat, and this mat. How many of each of these do I need? What about is the amount of boxes that I need? And I kept landing on that, like, you know, it'd be somewhere in the like 400 plus range. So I was just like, I'm just going to do 500 boxes every single time. And that usually ended up being the right number for me. And it's why like it's just become a tradition for me now at this point to do. Usually at that point I get ahead of the material, and you guys can see like I am obviously sitting on some extra stuff here, but like honestly, like the argument about like, oh hey, they do like, you know, streakiness and they keep reusing stuff, yeah, that is why I have so many proofs of the heroes. But usually at that point I'm farming it for like the 3 other materials, not for proof of the heroes. So but yeah, and the interesting thing is like, I think Proof of the Heroes are another one where we need about 9,000 for all the materials in the game. And that's an old number, so that may be incorrect, right? But this 7,000 number that you see, I don't have every unit in the game, but I have like 95% of the units in the game. Like I think I'm only missing like, I think it's like 15 units. It's something like that. So I basically end up having just about every single unit in the game. This 7,000 Proof of the Heroes that I have here is what remains after I've leveled up all those units, after I've skilled them all up. So I don't have every unit at like 999 or anything like that, but it's also one of those deals where I never really intended to. I do have almost all of my units though at what I would call a like peak amount of like worth and efficiency, where like, you know, I have charge skills Lord. I have steroids usually taken to the 9th rank or Lord. and then other skills are you know, treated accordingly on a case-by-case basis. Can you clear class score with all the mats you currently have on an A? Oh yeah. Like I'd have to double check for things like, say for instance, like my shells, right? My shells are low. But I'm not really gonna care, because quite literally when we get, you know, basically to next year, we get Ordeal Call, and especially early on in Ordeal Call, there's not very many options for what to farm. There's basically, like, of the good nodes that remain, there's basically a QP node, and the other one's a shell node. So I'm just going to be like degenning on that shell node with all of my storm pods. So yeah, I'm not worried about it. I literally just needed enough shells to get through this summer, and then I was good. Is the next Gudo on an A somewhat of a Lotto? It is an infinitely like refreshable event. Think of it kind of like summer 6, but not nearly as lucrative as summer 6, if I remember correctly. That's how I drastically caught up to the game's content as a new player back then. Yeah, I mean, and I'm not going to tell you guys that, like, oh, hey, every single one of you has to do 500 boxes. Like, for instance, I'm a whale, right? Like, and I do roll the majority of the units in the game. It's very rare that I don't roll a new unit. So at that point, the 500 boxes covers me. What I have looked back, though, and seen is that, like, yeah, if you're somebody that does not roll a lot of units, if you're a more free-to-play person, you don't need as many materials. You don't need to farm as much. It really does end up sort of like being a case of you need to farm more the more you roll. So that's where, like, you just need to ask yourself, like, how many materials you yourself need. And this is why it's a good idea to have something out there like Chaldea app or something where you can actually plot out your, you know, like your characters and everything that you need. Now, I need to get mine updated, right? But, like, for instance, you know, I do have my plan all in here. And you guys can see, if I come down in here and I do subtract owned and subtract event, chat, this is literally what I need to farm for the next 2 years to be good. Now, you might be thinking, like, oh, crap, that's a lot of stuff. No, it's not. Like, it's absolutely going to end up getting covered by just about everything. Like, honestly, the Trom mats are the most, like, worrisome right now. Because I actually probably should be going and working on Trom. That's probably what I will do starting tomorrow, since I don't really need the embers at the moment. I think 100, 120 is enough for free to play. What I usually tell people, especially if you're new to the game, is try to do 100 boxes. 100 boxes is enough that no matter the status of your account, if you get 100 boxes and you've never had them before, that will move your account forward. That will absolutely make sure that, like, oh, all of a sudden you've got a bunch of new units you can level. All of a sudden you've got a bunch of new skills you can invest in. And basically you're going to see a noticeable impact from doing those 100 boxes. Doing more than that, again, it's going to depend on account capabilities. It's going to depend on account needs. But I try to tell you guys, like, in a 2-week span, at least try to tough out a 100 box run. And then you can usually do really good from there. Probably farm 100 to 300 boxes before I run out of apples. Yeah. I will say this, and this is kind of what we're trying to, like, notice on JP. So let me show you guys another really interesting thing here. Okay. I have 163 blue apples. I have not been making blue apples, and I already have 163. Like, I have been basically spending my AP down most of the time. Now let's go look at JP. How did you get them if you didn't make them? Oh, no, I mean, like, I made those 168, right? What I'm trying to say, White, is that, like, it's very rare for me to actually make blue apples. I'm extremely efficient with my AP. And this is how many I have on JP. And you'll also notice that and that. I ain't wasting my AP, chat. So, thing is, what I've noticed now on JP, as of the prior Lotto that we had, which was last Christmas, I completed my 500 box goal on JP. I did it all with blue apples and normal apples. I still had apples left over after I completed the goal. And now I have such a commanding lead on apples, I will likely not ever have to consider like popping a quartz to hit that 500 box goal on my JP account. And my JP account is way less like capable, I should say. So like the thing that I'm trying to point out here is that we are basically at a point now in JP where they fucked up with blue apples and they know it. And that's why they're trying to do everything they can to like diminish the creation of them when possible, because they know they have people basically just nobody's, I think, buying quartz to farm anymore. There's no real reason to. And hear me out, because I know like saying something like that probably to some of you guys sounds like crazy, right? Like, why would you pop a quartz to farm? That's insane. This is something that whales do. And particularly in lucrative events like lottos, raids, hunting quests, you name it, right? If you're out of apples, whales will just go, okay, well, I have rainbow apples. I don't think even whales are doing this because they don't have to. We're reaching a point of like actual perfect efficiency. Silver apples they give us every day helps with that. Yeah, so a big chunk of like what's going on is they had to start giving out apples because people weren't doing their storm pods, especially during events. They realized that like trying to force people to do the storm pods every day wasn't working when your ordeal call nodes cost 40 AP and you had an active ongoing event at the time. People just said, I'm not screwing myself in the event, fuck the storm pods. Now, there were ways you could do it. I did manage to do it without ever missing a storm pod and never like not completing an event. But what they started to try to do is they started to try to give you guys blue and gold apples, or sorry, not blue, silver and gold apples to try and like combat that. And the interesting thing is now they've actually totally realized their mistake and they've said, you know what? Storm pod nodes are now only 20 AP during an event, which is a fantastic change. I'm so much happier that they did that. However, they're still giving out the apples. So now I'm getting like double the efficiency. And it's how there's just like, yeah, there's just sort of a crazy thing here with this. And again, like, given the fact that we have 47 days to do this event, I expect most people are going to finish this event probably in the span of like, I'd wager like a week and a half is where probably most people will finish, probably right before the second banner. Then we'll get the second banner. And, you know, again, I'm saying all this. I don't know if we'll be like story locked until that point. But I do really like foresee that being the case. Then we'll get the second banner. People will roll, but people will already be done with the event. And people are just going to start making blue apples unless there is Ordeal Call 3 at that time. The single can't win them all with how they're going. I'll take that win. Oh, I'm not like complaining so much as I'm pointing out that, so the first problem was that they implemented blue apples poorly. Then they noticed that people weren't doing them in events, so they tried to give out apples. And then they noticed that people still weren't doing them, even though they were giving out apples. So they said, okay, let's cut it to 20 AP. And they're still giving out the apples. So this is kind of my issue, is they probably shouldn't be doing that now that they did this. And the community's absolutely taking them for granted right now. Then people kept apples for Lotto instead, like I did. Yeah, 100%. And I did the same, right? Like, everybody did that. And that's how we ended up in that scenario in the first place. You mean storm pods, not blue apples, right? No. So hear me out. So again, the issue there is that they were creating blue apples, or people were creating too many blue apples, and that was a problem. That is to say, when you create blue apples, when you convert your AP into a blue apple, you are not playing the game. People were doing this in droves, such to the point that, like, yeah, people would log in and make blue apples. They would log in the next day and make blue apples. They would log in the next day and make blue apples. People weren't spending their AP ever. They were never actually going into nodes. And they realized they had messed up because they didn't put any sort of cap on it. So that's why all of those changes occurred. And then, like I said, partway through, oh, like, hey, we've realized we have an issue with blue apples, but now all of a sudden people aren't doing the storm pod nodes, and we can't seem to make them do the storm pod nodes in spite of everything. So now we're going to end up giving that out. But as a result, that now has fed the apple beast, and we've now ended up, like, just coming full circle, and the problem is just rearing its ugly head again. People have way too many apples, and people are not playing the game unless the game gives them a reason to. So that's where, again, like, they're trying to do everything they can to make you not make blue apples. They're trying to do everything they can to make you do your storm pods, and they can't seem to get people to do it. Yeah, sorry, I may have misspoke at one point. The caps at 10 times the pool, nothing more than that. Yeah, and I've said this before. I think where they originally got the idea was the condensed resin from Genshin. And condensed resin, I think, has a cap, and maybe it got expanded, right? But I think originally when it first came out, condensed resin had a cap at 3. That was atrocious. It was terrible. I don't know if they've changed that. I assume they probably have. But I think that's where they got the idea for blue apples from. And to be fair, it's a great idea. What is incredibly stupid is not putting any sort of cap on it. I said, like, I think 3 times is way too little. But I think a fair, like, cap for both storm pods and blue apples, I think, like, I don't know, maybe cap your blue apples at something like 100, and maybe cap your storm pods at something like probably 7 times, right? Well, yeah, if they wanted to be generous, it'd be 7 times, but I'd say, like, maybe like 21, right? At that point, if they wanted to, they could really go to like 25 or whatever if they wanted a nice, like, number there for that. But the reason why I say that is that should give you enough where, like, you could let them accumulate for an entire week before having to do them. I think chaining it to like, hey, you've got 3 a day and you only can not do it for like 3 days max before it caps out and wastes, I think is a little bit short, especially with ongoing events where you need to be spending your AP during a node. That is what they realized, and that is why they half cost the ordeal cult nodes. At this point, it's too late to restrict blue apples. Oh, I wouldn't say that. I'm gonna say this. Remember the gacha rules. They can't nerf anything, but that doesn't include systems. That just includes, like, they can't nerf characters. They can't have you spend money on the character and then make it worse. They could absolutely nerf it. Would it cause major blowback? Yes. But what I think they could say is, like, hey, we are putting a finite cap on this. You cannot hold more than this amount. And then if you're over that amount, it's like, cool, you're not gonna lose it, but you need to spend it, right? Tucson will have to apologize again. I mean, listen, chat. We can say that all we want, but it is what it is. They absolutely need to put some sort of like. Well, let me put it to you this way. They need to put some sort of limitation on it, because if not, they're going to keep making shitty systems like storm pods. What do I mean? I mean, you're going to end up getting a, hey, you get 3 of these a day and you have to spend the mechanic. Nobody likes being chained to a game. This is artificial FOMO. It straight up is an issue. It builds anxiety for people. They don't want to miss this. And then if they actually do end up having to miss this, it annoys them. That's what I'm talking about. You really don't want more systems like this. These systems are bad for your game. They had to do it because of the way blue apples are, and it's still not a fully effective answer to the way blue apples are. Cad, stop giving advice. Let me hoard in peace. I know. I'm just saying, like, chat, you guys are looking at it from the player perspective. I am 100% looking at it from the dev perspective on this. I'm being devil's advocate here. I am saying the devs have got to find a solution to this issue, or people are just going to sit there and continue to be lazy and not play. Simultaneously, the more they implement shit like this, the more anxiety and FOMO they build with the game, and the more likely they are to burn players out and have them quit and never come back. That's not a good thing either. How many saplings do you have left? That's a good question. They did get asked that in the Famitsu interview, and they said they were looking into like things that they could do, because apparently, so I still have 300. Apparently, some people have run out, and I'm not surprised by that, because like I said, I've been very efficient with my blue apples for the most part. But yeah, no, there are people that just make them every day, and they just don't play the game, and at the same time, they're gonna whine for more. And chat, I gotta be honest. While I'm okay with them giving us more, like with every story chapter release, I haven't run out yet. I haven't even been close. So if you're running out, I have to assume you're just not playing the game, and I don't have much sympathy for those people. I don't think they should be able to infinitely create blue apples. So while I think it's an interesting question, I won't be surprised to see them kind of choke the seedlings some. That is one of their potential solutions to the issue. If you have a finite amount of seedlings, then oh no, like we're not limiting your blue apples, you just haven't gotten more. It's a ticking time bomb. Yeah. Now, that being said, chat, that ticking time bomb's about to go up. You're literally getting Ordeal Call 3. That will increase that. It's a skill issue from my part, yeah. I have a ton of blue apples on JP, but yeah, I'm starting to run low on saplings. Right. And that's, like I said, I'm not going to be like, oh, you ran out, you bad person, you non-player, you. I'm just saying that, yes, there are people that legitimately, like, they don't even do their 3 runs a day. They just make blue apples. And those people are the ones running out right now, and I'm like, okay, right? Like I don't feel bad for you, because it's like you've run out because you've overused them. You're just looking for an excuse not to play the game at that point. And that's where I'm going to say again, yeah, I don't have any issue with the devs trying to be like, well, you need to play the game. For Rider Arturia, Pen 5 would make it a 1-turn cooldown. Yep. Yep. Reloaded memes get a whole heck of a lot better. Wait, what? You can click on the AP button on the bottom left. Eat apple menu has button. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about... Oh, god damn it. Thinking about that, right? And then yeah, you can make it from there. Did we get more saplings with Tunguska? No, because Tunguska was already out before we had blue apples. 25 million download campaign, aka NA's 20 million download campaign, is what gave us blue apples. And that didn't happen till after Tunguska. Yeah, it's like it was part of it, but there was not like, oh, hey, that came after and we got more from it. They're saving upcoming Lotto in Annie 10. That's 10 times the Lotto results. Yep. Down. I make blue apples during dead time, but if I run out, I don't know, I will fully spin down during the dead time. Yeah, no, I'd be the same way. But Strom, to be fair, right? Like, you and I have both been playing the game for a long time, right? So, compared to newer players, especially players that only know things like, you know, Genshin and stuff, I do think it's an issue for them. I think, like, they're going to get upset, but, you know, us being the old guard, we know exactly how to handle it. Newer players don't necessarily. Do you think we should have gotten Summer Koyan instead of BB Dubai? Let me put it to you this way. I think the crux of this argument is, how dare BB get another summer version? And the reality here is, if you truly think this is just normal BB, you're kidding yourself. So that's where I think the issue comes from. Chat, this is no different than, like, quite literally, like, how can I put this? It's no different than, like, a different variant of a unit getting a summer unit, right? So it'd be like looking at, like, Nocnaria getting a welfare and being like, but Mabe already had a summer version. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say here. I wouldn't say they don't know anything about the story of this game, Zero. I'm just going to say it's BB, but it's not BB. And that's what people need to understand. So, to turn the argument on its head, Koyanskaya fans, how many of you think that Koyanskaya is not Tamamo? I'm waiting on it. She's not a tail. She's not. Okay. So the point that I'm trying to make there is, if you want to be able to claim that Koyanskaya is not Tamamo, then you can't get upset over BB getting a, quote, another summer form, right? And the reason why I'm saying that is the same argument. Otherwise, if Koyanskaya got another summer form, that's like saying, how dare Tamamo get another summer form? Because it is, you guys are saying, well, Koyanskaya is not Tamamo, it's a different character. Okay, then this BB is not BB, it's a different character. And that's what I'm trying to say. Right? So, like, do I think Koyanskaya should have gotten it over her? No. Do I think Koyanskaya could get one? Sure. Yeah, like, I'm not anti-Koyanskaya. I find the new BB to be sus as fuck. Oh, you should be. You should be sus. I'd recommend chat read Foxtail before this comes to an A. Yeah, I mean, that might be one way of doing it, right? We know 100% there won't be a third banner. We don't, but I will say that, like, I don't think if you get a third banner, chat, it's not a third banner. What do I mean? So you already have the male banner. you already have summer 1 and you already have summer 2. Well, we don't have it, but we know it, right? What I'm gonna say is, what about a third banner? What would that third banner be? It would probably not be new summer units. And at that point, I'm gonna be real with y'all. Rather than a third banner, what you're more likely to see is Ordeal Call 3 Part 1 and Ordeal Call 3 Part 2. I don't think you're getting a third banner for summer at all. If you do get one, it's going to be like old summer units. Yeah, exactly, Virda. Summer 2 banner is Ordeal Call banner 1. They start on the same day. Yeah, and I mean, like, that may be the thing, right? So maybe there is a third banner out there, but I'm not going to say it's expressly going to be summer at that point. Cad, what if we get an Ordeal Call 3 banner, but it has swimsuit units? If that's the case, then I'm just wrong. Like, I'm okay with being wrong. I'm okay with there being more summer units. I'm just saying, like using my best intuition, no, I don't think there will be. But, yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to it. You know, there's a major pivot to Ordeal Call 3. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into like the story specifics because I don't want to spoil anyone, but obviously there are things there that, like, yes, I do think this will be a thing. Chat, let's do the seal analysis. We're going to analyze some seals. Okay. Yeah, I'll keep that page open. Chad, didn't they confirm that Seal's gonna have costumes? Two of them, it's in the store. Okay. Yeah, I'm just surprised because I'm surprised fandom doesn't have it yet. But maybe they're not unlocked, and I'm okay with fandom not putting like stuff that's only been data mined and stuff in there. Meanwhile, Zerctoria gets nothing. Yeah, I do want to say I think it's bullshit that we didn't get her actual swimsuit. Did you guys hear that Chrome is going to be killing U-Block Origin? Give me that. Wait. Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Avalon. Okay. Wait, huh? Oh, okay. It was a pin 5. That's what was messing with my brain. I'm sorry. Okay. Ah. Okay. Yeah, I had to double check something there real quick, chat. Sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah, you realized it. Okay. I was gonna say, didn't Pirate Bay, like, didn't we shut Pirate Bay down, but now it's back or some crap? I don't remember. All right, let's talk Ciel, because obviously we've got some stuff we need to kind of cover here. Good morning. I hope it's not morning for you, Bernie. All right, let's get this started. Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today we're going to be talking to you about Mysterious Executor Ciel. Now, Ciel is obviously a very famous character at this point from Tsukihime. She's coming to us as part of JP's summer event, and naturally there's going to be a lot of hype surrounding this character, and we're going to try to kind of cut through some of that. We're also going to try to maybe offset some of the, in a weird way, I've actually seen people kind of trying to downplay her at times as well. I'm going to try to get you guys to the actual facts on Ciel and show you guys her real numbers and really kind of demonstrate for you guys a little bit how she can be used properly. But first, I think we should mention the uniqueness of this summer event. So for starters, This summer event requires us to have done basically Ordeal Call Prologue in order to even access it. From there, we have to complete this summer event in order to access Ordeal Call 3 later on. However, the devs have said that later they will main interlude both this event and Ordeal Call 3, so you shouldn't be too worried about it, as it will mean that we will gain access to it after the fact, though it will not give you access to the banners. This banner, our first banner, is coming out now, but we're not going to get the second banner until 2 weeks in, which is kind of a rarity nowadays. So it is an interesting thing for how they're going to be handling this. This first banner does include multiple units. We'll be going over all of them with the upcoming videos, but I did really quickly want to mention the fact that this craft essence on Ciel's banner is actually quite nice. Now, obviously, we can point out that, again, this is going to end up having Durga on it, and she looks fantastic, but I do think the thing to pay attention to is the fact that this is sort of a new version of Sign of a Smiling Face. It is all attack scaling. It is a very, very nice CE for generating NP and basically bumping your damage up. So it's going to be really good for Art's units, particularly if you want to start at 0, but also maybe if you're in a scenario where a unit's not going to necessarily be able to function with something like, say, Black Grail alone. So having that little bit of extra NP gen on it is going to help out, and it's definitely going to be a nice thing for certain units out there. Again, it's not something you've got to have. It's just worthy of mentioning that it is, in fact, very good. Also, actually, the event CE for the damage for damage bonus in the event is also quite nice, but we'll probably go over that on its own when we actually get to the NA portion 2 years from now. So in that regard, now we can kind of talk about Ciel herself. So she is a limited unit, and she is a moon cancer. That's naturally going to be a little bit weird in and of itself, just because I think a lot of people are expecting Ciel to be Archer for very obvious reasons, but you'll see the devs do deal with that at least in one way or another. Now, the other interesting thing about this moon cancer choice is the fact that this event seems to be rather moon cancer heavy. We have seen the devs sort of kind of go the way of leaning towards extra classes a lot more in the past 2 years now in JP, and you're going to start to see it a little bit some on NA, but as the devs have kind of leaned this way, we're starting to see a lot more content focused on that sort of thing as well. Though naturally, we are going to see some potential uses for Ciel in the future, particularly if one of the upcoming Ordeal calls is, as rumored, to end up being, again, things involving various different extra classes. So we'll just have to see, but I'm sure she's going to end up finding uses. Even still, outside of that, Ciel has a good enough kit that she's going to warrant everyone paying attention to her, and I'll show you why here in a second. So let's go ahead and start out by talking about her actual stats and everything here. So again, she is a limited 5-star. She's a summer unit, so don't expect her to get a ton of banners, but you can reasonably expect that you probably will see her on an almost yearly basis. Now, again, we're going to start out here with only 11.6k attack. This is not a solid attack stat, but believe me when I say that your stat is not everything that makes up your damage. It is just one piece of your damage. So Ciel's total damage is going to end up being, again, the summation of its parts. And you guys can see she does, as a trade-off, get at least a decently high HP stat to kind of help that out. So she is going to be a little bit of a tankier unit in that regard, even though she doesn't have a ton of attack there. Her attribute here is going to be man, and probably more concerning here is her star absorption rate is going to be rather low at 49%. This is going to be concerning if we're maybe utilizing her a little bit more on an island, that is to say, like, just herself, not alongside supports like, say, Koyanskaya. If you do have Koyanskaya of Light, absolutely, this will probably not be an issue for most things. And she does have a star generation rate of 15%, which is also not bad. Her NP charge attack rate here is only 0.46. This is rather low, and it's actually surprisingly low for a unit that is a buster unit. This is to say, Ciel is a single target buster moon cancer. So normally we expect that that's going to kind of be conjunctioned with a fairly high NP gain rate, usually because of the way the deck ends up working. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second here as well. She does have a 3% NP charge defense, which is our standard, and she does have a 0.5 death rate, which is not altogether that high, so it's okay. And her alignment here is lawful good. Looking at her traits now, you guys can see she is female gendered. She is a costume owning servant, as she will be getting some from the event. She is hominide, humanoid, living human, loved one, which is the Brynhilder's beloved trait, servant, stout defender, summer mode servant, and weak to intimate Elish. And you guys can see she does end up having a double buster, double arts deck rather than say like a triple buster deck. So in that regard, this is maybe why they kind of took a look at the NP gain rates and kept them a little bit lower. She has, again, 2 arts cards here, and looking at the hit counts, you can see these hit counts are all stellar. Every single hit count here is above average. So there is no weakness in terms of her carding capability from that perspective. Now again, just a brief thought here. Obviously, having the double buster cards with the NP means we can form a triple buster brave chain. Having the double arts cards here means obviously we have 2 arts cards to generate NP, and then having the quick card, star gen if you need it, but again, a crucial piece to being able to form something like a mighty chain should you so desire. But I think you're going to see the NP gain stats not going to be too big of a deal for her, as we're now going to get into her actual kit. Looking at her first skill here, she charges her own NP gauge by 10% every turn for 5 turns. This is nice because this is going to go beyond the conventional 3-turn setup in terms of its duration. We're going to get lasting effects here as it's going to have sort of staying power. All of this on a 6-turn cooldown means you're just pretty much always going to have this active, especially if you lore the skill. This is an absurdly good effect, especially when we start looking at the other things that it does. So it's also going to recover her own HP every turn for 5 turns by up to 1500. So we're looking at almost Merlin healing levels here on this. Not, for the party, but at least for herself. And then we're also going to increase her own debuff resistance for 5 turns by 50%. So it's far less likely that any sort of debuff lands on her for the next 5 turns. And then on top of that, we're going to increase her own buff removal resistance for 5 turns, which if you lure this skill will be 100%. So for 5 out of a potential 6 turns, you will not be able to even have buffs removed from you, by an enemy or a gimmick. So that's really, really strong in terms of challenge content. That's really good if you're going up against, say an annoying story boss that has the ability to buff strip. So it's really nice that she has this. Obviously, it'd be better if it did party-wide, but it'd probably be too strong. So in that regard, the sheer fact that this is all 5-turn durations on a 6-turn cooldown, it's kind of nuts. And when you start considering things like the 5th append, at least for the first application of this skill, and then, the second one pretty much, you're going to be looking at 100% uptime. So that's really, really kind of crazy in that regard. Now we take a look at her second skill here. This one's quite a bit of a doozy. So you guys can see it's going to increase her own arts performance and buster performance for 3 turns by 30% each at max rank. It's going to grant a self debuff on attack for the 3 turns that whenever you attack with an arts card, it will inflict healing received down on the enemy for 3 turns by 20%. It has a 30% chance to drain their gauge by 1 as well, and remove their gut status just from using the arts card. Now, again, it's not going to be able to remove a permanent guts or a guts that is locked in by a fight mechanic. So again, a guts that's surrounded by that white square, that border. If it's one of those, then you're naturally going to not have any capability to remove it. But besides that, yeah, this is just going to be really, really strong. It's also going to grant a debuff on attack when using buster cards that's going to charge your own NP gauge by 10%. This will stack with other sources of this capability, a la Koyenskaya's own second skill that does increase charge by 10% when you use a buster card. So naturally, a double Koyenskaya setups means that Ciel's buster cards will be charging her by 30%. sometimes I wonder if the devs actually think about what they're doing in these regards. It's very strong, it's very good, but holy cow, this does mean that, you know, in certain circumstances, basically with Ciel's NP, that, you know, we'll get to it in a minute here, but it actually gives her 20% charge on the back end of it. So with Ciel's NP, plus her charge per turn, that is 10%, plus the effect of 10% gauge when she busts her cards, that does impact the NP. That's 40% right there just off the NP. If you do a NP Buster Brave Chain, you're going to get 30% with a double Koyan Skya setup from each of the Buster cards. That means an NP Buster Brave Chain is going to just full on refund her 100%. That's kind of crazy when you think about it, especially considering this is a single target unit. So that is incredibly strong in the right circumstances if you manage to pull that off well. Now, the other interesting part about what this does, it's going to grant self-critical damage up when it activates if her own HP is 50% or higher for 3 turns. That amount will again scale up to 50%. So if her HP is higher than 50%, she gets 50%. If her HP is basically is 100% for 3 turns, sorry, grant self-critical damage up which activates if own HP is 100% for 3 turns. So again, if she's at max, she gets 100% is basically the way to read this. So she is just naturally going to gain a lot of firepower. This will mean that you might not want to use things like Black Grail on Ciel, and that's perfectly okay, because Black Grail will be really strong for her NP damage output, but you may want to start trying to use things like Limited Zero Over or Victor of the Moon. Either one of those is a really, really powerful craft essence that gives Buster up, or in Victor of the Moon's case, crit damage up, and in Victor of the Moon's case, scales up to 2400 attack, just like a Black Grail would. So definitely a really, really strong and potent combo, but it's absolutely just nutty when you start to consider these applications. She's just going to have this on top of any other buffs that she manages to get. And they do denote here that if the target does not meet the HP condition, the buff will be displayed as inactive. So again, it gives you that like, hey, you'll see the crit buff, but it's faded out. And the buffs can change being active or inactive at any time. So again, if an enemy were to hit you, or you were to somehow take damage from hitting an enemy in the middle of your attacks, like let's say you were to hit someone like Bazette or something like that, and she ends up doing a counter on you, and that knocks you below a certain point, that will inactivate the 100% buff, or again, maybe even the 50% buff at a certain point. So definitely interesting, but holy cow, that is still going to be a very, very strong second skill. And again, all of this potentially on a 6-turn cooldown, or even 5 turns if you manage to get something like the 5th Append. And it is worthy of mentioning that in doing so, you would be able to pop this skill if it is 6 turns, either on turns 1 and 3 in a double Koyan Skya setup, or if you have it on the 5-turn cooldown on turns 1 and 2. So you'd be able to get back to it even faster if you have the 5th Append. Definitely another interesting thing to consider when we make our Append choices here in a minute. Her third skill here, though, is probably the most insane aspect of Ciel's kit. It has the potential to be so powerful. Not even just for Ciel herself, but also potentially for other units. And what do I mean? Well, let's talk about it and let's kind of take a look at what this skill does. So it says the party's command cards will not appear except for self one time, one turn. So TLDR, it is going to take whatever cards you currently have, throw them out, and give you all 5 of Ciel's cards right at that moment. So that is strong, not only because you'll be able to dictate which cards you get, that is going to remove any RNG from the process. But it's also strong because Plug Suit allows you to swap Ciel with another character. What does that mean? Well, that means you can bring in somebody else in place of Ciel, like Super Orion or Aoko. And in these sets of circumstances, you would get all 5 of their cards as a replacement. You can combine this either to great effect for Ciel or whoever you're replacing her with by also utilizing Summer BB and her card lock, as this will allow you to card lock all 3 turns with a 5-card deck. So you can effectively get one single unit's cards for 3 turns and still have all the supports as if you were doing a solo. That is insanely good. Sorry, have all the cards as if you're doing a solo, have all the supports as if you're doing a party comp. So that's still really insanely powerful. This is going to start removing card RNG from the equation in certain sets of circumstances, and it is going to allow for very potentially powerful setups. However, it's going to depend entirely on what your goal is and what the node is like. Because again, if you have, say, an early wave where, yeah, maybe you do just want to crit it down, Ciel's going to be somebody that can absolutely enforce that that happens. But you would need some way to stagger cards. And remember, if we're getting all 5 of a kind, and if we have a 3 enemy wave, how do we stagger the cards for that? Well, the easiest way to do that is going to be, again, that you can use the NP to break up the cards. So you can do something like a Buster, an NP, and then another Buster into the extra attack. And basically, the first Buster will hit the first enemy, the NP will reset and hit the second enemy, and after the NP, it'll reset again and hit the third enemy. So you can actually manage to card out an AoE wave, even as a single target, and it's potentially powerful. The big thing I'm going to try to warn you about here, especially right now as we're in the middle of the summer event where we have damage bonus, obviously Ciel's really capable of doing stuff like that right now. But as we get outside of the, event where she has damage bonus, do keep in mind that this strategy might not work very well in high-end content. As we start to look towards 90 plus and 90 plus plus nodes, it's entirely possible that Ciel doesn't have the actual carding damage to get out of there with just a double Koyanskaya setup. Now, maybe she does, maybe she can still crit and card everything down that way, but it really will be a case-by-case basis, so you'll just have to depend, and you'll just have to be careful with how you try to attempt these sorts of things. But it is, again, a potentially extremely powerful combination, and this does hurt a lot of other units that are maybe more RNG focused, or again, things like, say, the Mages Association Mystic Code that actually has a card shuffle as part of its entire mechanic. Now, with a unit like Ciel, you, in theory, don't need the shuffle. You can secure the cards. But you are going to have to be smart and inventive with how you apply it in order to be able to take real advantage of it. So, again, this will reset the deck. So the other thing to understand is that, essentially, you will get all of Ciel's deck. So let's say, for instance, you had a first turn where you got dealt say random cards, right? And then you had a second turn and you had a third turn. Normally at the end of 3 turns, your cards reset. In Ciel's case, let's say for turn 1, we still had random cards. And on turn 2, we decided to pop this third skill. Then we would get all 5 of Ciel's cards, regardless of however many we got in turn 1. Simultaneously, you can then receive Ciel's cards again on turn 3, because what that will do is that will make turn 3 the new 3-turn cadence. It'll make it the new first turn. So it is an interesting thing to denote that, yes, this does actually end up resetting the card counting deck, as it were, because normally it does function on a 3-turn cadence, but it will just straight up end up reshuffling and resetting everything after this turn is over. Here, it's also going to get even crazier, as this is also Ciel's charge skill. She will literally gain 50% charge if you lure this skill, and I highly recommend that you lure this skill. Out of all the skills that Ciel has, this is probably the most crucial to lure, not just because she has 50% charge on it, but also because it's going to get it to that 6-turn cooldown that is coveted so that you can end up popping this twice in a conventional 3-turn. This would allow you, even without the 5th append, to lock Ciel's cards for turns 1 and 3. If you did have the 5th append, in theory, you could do it in turns 1 and 2, but you actually wouldn't want to because of her 50% charge here. Remember, the way you're going to handle it in a lot of circumstances is Ciel's going to almost get back 50% of her charge after just about every NP. It will depend on how you're structuring things and whether or not you're able to card, but that is going to make it then that basically the first turn you're going to utilize her 50% charge. Then you might use, say, a Koyanskaya to get up to full for turn 1. The next turn, she's going to refund like 50% herself. So you'd have to pop another Koyanskaya 50% charge to get back to this skill, even on a 5-turn cooldown. But this is also the charge skill, so at that point, you wouldn't want to waste it potentially. So that's why I say, like, yes, it's possible to do in practicality, but you might want to consider how you're handling the charge structure before you actually do end up committing to it. Now, from here, it's also going to increase her own defense for 3 attacks, 3 turns, as if she needed more, right? And it is a 100% defense. Yeah. Ciel just gets 100% defense on top of the insane healing that she gets and the buff removal resistance that she gets. It's kind of stupid. She's also going to grant herself a buff on defense for 3 times 3 turns that whenever she gets hit, she heals by 2,000. You're going to have a really hard time killing Ciel, is the best way I can describe this. She's not going to be immune in any way, shape, or form, but she is going to be very solid, very tanky, very mitigating down the stretch in a fight. And again, given the fact that this first skill has that 5-turn duration, yeah, it's just going to be strong no matter how you're looking at this. So again, all of this on a 6-turn cooldown, having the capacity to get back to it's just really, really dumb and hilarious and strong. Her passive skills now, we can look at them. She has Magic Resistance A, giving her an additional 20% debuff resistance in addition to the 50% she already had from her first skill. So that's 70% debuff resistance if you even wanted to try landing something on her. She gets Independent Action EX, almost as if she were an archer, even though she's not. And that gives her 12% more crit damage on top of the potentially 100% that she gets from her second skill. And then she gets Self-Preservation Magecraft A that recovers her HP by 500 every turn, in addition to the 1500 she was already getting from the first skill, and the 2000 that she was already getting from the third skill. You can see where I'm going with this. This is just beginning to get overkill, and it's kind of hilarious to me that the devs are actually still doing this. Ciel would have been strong just with, like, the second skill and the third skill alone. The fact that they have managed to add this much more onto it is just icing on the very cute cake. So then we get to her actual, truly broken passive, and that's Executor Archer A. And this is why a lot of people thought that she was going to be a archer, is because her lore kind of really lent itself to it. This is going to grant her self-attack advantage against the Saber class, meaning that she will deal semi-effective damage to them, aka 1.5 times effectiveness. Now, an actual archer will still do 2 times effectiveness to a Saber class enemy, but this is still very strong, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. So, with that in mind, let's talk about the appends. She's got extra attack finesse, mana loading, anti-alter ego, special attack finesse that increases her own critical damage even more, and yes, skill reloading, the 5th append. Interestingly enough, Ciel really doesn't need mana loading, at least for normal conventional, like, I say conventional. Nothing about her is conventional if you're farming with her, but yes, you can farm with her due to the card consistency. So in that regard, if you're gonna try to do, like, say, the BB card lock setup, yeah, you can do that, and you're not going to need mana loading at that point. But mana loading still might find its uses if you're trying to use Ciel as somebody to maybe, like, come in, lock the cards, and maybe herself take out, like, say, one wave or something. That can be a thing. just keep in mind if you're going to use someone like BB BB Summer with Ciel in order to lock her cards, remember that any sort of death or any sort of plug suiting or swapping of the party after locking the cards will break the lock. So make sure that you do BB's card lock as, say, like the last thing in a sequence of events rather than the first, or you'll end up regretting it. But yeah, I mean, if you're just using her to take out, like, say, a middle wave, like a 3/1/3 node, and she's taking out the middle wave, yeah, having something like mana loading might be good in addition to her 50% charge skill, as that's going to allow you, obviously, the capability to maybe get back and kind of work with overflow charge alone. Her third skill being anti-alter ego attack damage aptitude, there is some small synergy here, but nothing really major. I'm going to say this is a pretty weak third append for Ciel for the most part. Her fourth skill, obviously critical damage up by 20 to 30% scaling is just going to be strong when she already has a ton of critical damage in her kit. If you do intend to, like, you know, crit and card stuff down, this may be really good for her to consider if you do have a ton of coins for her. And then her fifth append, again, skill reloading, we already talked about it can kind of be weird with the third skill, but it would certainly be good for the second skill. And even with the first skill, getting it up and online even faster and having that 100% uptime would mean you have functionally 10 whole turns of, like, buff removal resistance where the enemy can't touch you. So I do think the fifth append probably a little bit more useful for the majority of situations than, say, something like mana loading in her case, but we'll see. It may be a case that you might want to consider, you know, maybe the fourth, the fifth, and the second append, but it's really going to come down to coins for you. So I think push comes to shove, ask yourself between the fourth or the fifth, which one you value more, and I think kind of go with that. But again, it really does depend on what you're attempting to do. Looking at her Noble Phantasm, she does have two different animations, but they are the same Noble Phantasm across both forms. So it is a 12-hit single target Buster NP. It ignores evasion for one turn, activating first, so this will go through things like dodge, but it will not go through things like invuln. She will ignore defense for one turn, so it will go through defense buffs, and she will then deal damage to one enemy. From there, she's going to deal super effective damage to any enemy that is demonic, so now Ciel also just has a really nice sort of screw you type of niche where, again, demonic is a very wide niche in the game. Obviously, not too many servants have it, but there is at least some synergy with her being, you know, again, a moon cancer, as there are at least 2 Avengers in the game at the moment that do end up utilizing that. Plus, you could end up utilizing her against things like, say, Berserkers, and still get at least, you know, some effectiveness out of it. So Ciel will be very strong in those sets of circumstances where you can find a demonic enemy. From there, she also has a 100% chance to instant kill enemies. Please do not mistake this. This is not a guaranteed instant kill. It's just a 100% modifier to the instant kill rate. So again, just keep in mind that the way that is calculated is somewhat wonky. Fandom does have some notes, but they're usually pretty generalistic. I'm just going to say, if you want to understand a little bit more about how instant kill is calculated, go check out my Instant Death Explained video. It has King Hassan on the cover. You should be able to easily recognize it. But it does a great job of breaking down, again, the actual instant death formula and how that works and all the factors that go into it. And then you can also notice that she will just flat out charge 20% gauge on the back end of her NP. Now, it's funny because I've talked about this with some of the Saber faces, how in the Koyan Skya system, having 20% charge on the back of your NP as a buster unit gets kind of weird, especially in the current meta. So having this can actually kind of be like almost useless for some units. The reason it's not useless for Ciel is for twofold reasons. One, her first skill gives her 10% charge per turn. That would turn that 20% into 30%, which is much more usable, considering you could say, like, use Oberon's 20%, and that would make that a nice even 50. But also given the fact that her second skill does end up actually impacting her NP with the 10% buster charge. So when you start considering that, then yeah, she's now not just getting 20, she's actually getting 40%. And in fact, if you have the 5th append, you can get back to this skill even faster in a Koyanskaya setup, have it basically already up by turn 2, having it doubling up, and that'll get you 20% per turn at that point. So you can actually sort of just secure 50% refund for her by the 3rd turn, which is again kind of insane. And that's not even considering cards. So let's go ahead and let's talk about this a little bit more. But again, you can see the overcharge effect here is also going to be that it increases NP damage for 1 turn, activating first. So this doesn't have the multi-turn application. It's not going to be stacking and scaling because of that, but it is still 30% NP damage. So if you're using someone like Oberon, yeah, he's going to double this for the final wave. So that's going to be really, really strong. And this does scale up to a whopping 60% if you manage to get her to 500%. So again, you get, 30 to 60% scaling there in the overcharge. That is definitely strong. Okay, so now with all of that covered, let's go ahead and briefly mention what I was talking about earlier, which was this extra passive skill. So one of the things that, I was talking with Avalon on the side, and he actually ended up putting this sort of thing together, which is just sort of a comparison of kind of one-shot damage in best circumstances. We do have some wonky stuff in here like double Merlin Oberon, so definitely take it with a grain of salt. But you can definitely see some interesting things. This is basically the most damage we can pump out of a single target archer in the game at the moment. And you're going to notice that David's sitting here on top. But David's sitting here on top with Giant Niche. And this is effective damage. This is not neutral. So in that regard, you've got Fujino in here as well with Super Giant. And you've got Ciel right here with Demonic just kind of sitting on top. But even if we take Demonic sort of out of the realm of possibility there, Ciel just really still ends up on this list, as she can still end up doing fairly solid damage here in this regard. So she's yet another, what I would say, threat to our single target archers. You guys know I've talked about this quite a bit over the years now at this point, because a lot of the single target archers just have not actually had a damage upgrade. But we have them sort of still getting poached by units like the MHX variants. And again, even other units out here like Gil can end up like kind of power creeping even the single targets with him being an AoE. So definitely we have some concerns now, as I'm not going to say Ciel's like the straw that broke the camel's back or anything like that. She's just yet another unit, and we don't really have a lot of actual staying power from a lot of our archers. So we do have obviously some of the super effective niches where some of them can really pop off, but outside of that, yeah, the class is pretty much dominated at this point by MHX and Ciel. So it is a really weird set of circumstances to note. But now we can also begin to talk to you guys a little bit about Ciel's own raw numbers. And again, that was sort of a idealistic type setting. But that was a little bit of a preview of just how strong Ciel can be. So Ciel with her own self buffs only, as you guys can see here, this is neutral numbers now, and this is not including things like mystic codes, craft essences, or even support buffs. This is just Ciel with her own buffs. She's still going to do okay, especially right there at the 44k. And then naturally, you do end up having the demonic niche, allowing her a little bit more firepower there with it being super effective. Add in now our charge scenarios, and we're going to give you guys a little bit of a peek at how working with Ciel is going to work, or how putting her in a comp is going to work. So right now at the top, you guys can see just normal Ciel. We do have an append 5 with a 10% mystic code and just normal append 5. So taking a look at this, we can see that basically append 5 with a 10% mystic code, we could start Ciel off with her charge skill. We could end up combining that with the Koyanskaya charge skill, and boom, there you go. That's going to be 100%. She's going to NP the first time. Now, this could be against a 1-1-1 node, but remember that you do have that potential to stagger cards. So you could do this even potentially against an AoE wave. And that's where this kind of gets really ridiculous. So now, based off of that NP, she's going to refund 30% from her NP itself, and then 10% from the per turn charge. Again, that's 20% from her NP, 10% from her second skill, and 10% from her first skill. All of that is guaranteeable, non-missable, okay? From there, we use another Koyanskaya charge skill. It's going to bring her up to 90%. And then we use a 10% charge mystic code. And boom, there you go. Something like Halloween Royalty is going to end up bringing her up to full. She's going to fire off the NP again. So then, basically now, if we're in the third turn, she's going to end up refunding now 40%. What does that mean? Well, you're going to have now doubled up in the second turn due to the fifth append, not only her second skill, but also her first skill. So now you're getting 20% refund from the NP itself, 20% from the second skill being doubled up, and 20% from the first skill being doubled up on the regen side of things. It's honestly overkill. We don't actually even need that much. Why? Because Ciel's third skill will also be back, and you're going to get 50% charge off that again. So there is quite the capability. I will say, do keep in mind that if you're not using something like Plug Suit with BB, that if you're trying to do a 3-3X type of wave, do understand that the node is going to be problematic for the second turn. That is to say, it's going to be very RNG as to what cards you receive. Unless you have some way of sort of forcing the cards to appear for Ciel, you're naturally going to have issues. And remember, we did talk about, yes, you could get back to the third skill fast enough for wave 2, but that you're going to be in a weird charge situation if you do that. Also, keep in mind that, again, that would mean that even if you did that, you wouldn't have the ability to get the card lock, or sorry, you wouldn't have the ability to get the card shuffle again for turn 3 if you did it on turns 1 and 2. So naturally, it's just going to be you trying to like play the odds of whatever the node is. But again, that would be enough for her to 3-turn. In a conventional Ciel setup, without the fifth append or anything, what you're going to do is you're going to start Ciel off with the 50% charge, Pain Sky at 50%, boom, there you go, that's enough for the first NP. Basically, you're going to end up refunding that 30%, that's the 20% from the NP, 10% from the second skill, and then 10% from the per turn of the first skill. And then from there, you're going to utilize another Koyanskaya, it's going to bring you up to 90%. You're going to plug suit one of the Koyanskayas out, bring in Oberon, 20% right there, boom, now you're full again. And again, remember, you can get even more from actual Buster carding if you so choose. And then basically for the third turn, you're going to have her 50% charge back. And you're going to, actually at that point, not even really need 50%. You can actually do it basically just from that with only a 10% remaining, because you'll still have the 30% and the 10% right there. So that's going to end up adding up to 90% yet again. So yes, Oberon will work, that you'll get a ton of damage out of it, but you could also potentially use somebody like, say, Merlin over here instead. You guys can see this is with the fifth append, where instead we decided to go with Merlin. We ended up going ahead, popping Ciel's 50% and Koyanskaya's 50%. We just go ahead and use Merlin's 20% at that point, since again, we don't actually need it since we're using fifth append. We're literally going to end up in the same scenarios as before, where we get 30% on turn 2, but we end up getting the double pop of the first and the second skill, doubling that up for turn 3. And then literally we don't double pop the third skill until turn 3 in order to get the charge on the right turn. So definitely a really, really interesting and strong setup. But the other thing I did want to quickly mention with you guys, again, the potential. So we already talked about how if you do NP Buster, you're going to end up getting 40% refund from the NP itself, and you're going to end up getting 30% from each of the Buster cards. That will end up in a double Koyanskaya setup specifically, okay? That will end up giving you 100% charge. So you would full loop, full refund, if you will, with Ciel in that sort of scenario. But what if you stagger your cards to be able to handle an AoE? So if you do Buster, NP, Buster, this is still possible. You'd still have the extra attack here, by the way, that we're not even factoring in. But you wouldn't necessarily get anything from the first card, right? Because you naturally need to be at full in order to NP in the first place. So from there, your NP is going to end up getting you that 40% refund, as we already talked about, because I'm talking about, again, the 20% from the NP, the 10% from the second skill, and then the 10% from the regen. All of that being included in that, okay? Then from there, double Koyanskaya, giving you 10% each with each of their second skills, plus the effect of your own second skill on Ciel. That's going to get you the 30% per buster card. That right there is going to end up being 70%. Is that a full refund? No. What this is, though, is this is more than 50%. And that sets you up very nicely for, again, something like just, oh, well, now I could just throw in another Koyanskaya 50% charge and I'm full. So this is how you can make it through the nodes in these set of circumstances. And if you consider the possibility to maybe get even, say, 10% off of the extra attack, now you're sitting at an 80%. Now you're looking really nice for, say, something as simple as like a Merlin or an Oberon 20% charge to really just finish you off. So there is some potential there. And do keep in mind, you do have the potential nowadays for for Merlin to get that additional 10% charge due to his recent upgrade on JP that turns him into a 30% charger. So there is quite a bit of power here, quite a bit of ability to not just single target NP, but also potentially card AoE waves out. And we also mentioned the ability with that third skill to, again, end up swapping out with somebody else, like a Super Orion to secure their crits, or a Aoko to secure her cards. And remember, Aoko, especially once you get her into super form, I mean, at that point, you're looking at AoE cards from her buster and extra attack. Being able to lock that in, that's got a lot of potential. So definitely some interesting applications that I think we're going to see with a unit like Ciel. Which is going to be a very fun unit to use down the line. And I haven't even talked with you guys about the actual damage. So let's take a look. Because here is going to be Ciel's actual damage numbers basically for you guys. As we can see, this is going to be 2 times Koyanskaya of Light, Oberon, a level 100 Black Grail, and a Neo Plug Suit. Do keep in mind, if you're using something like Black Grail, yes, you're going to get a lot of NP damage out of it, but it might cost you that extra crit damage, so it's just totally up to you. Remember, you can use things like, limited zero over, or any of the lesser rarity equivalents of it, or something like Victor of the Moon, that's also going to be pretty darn strong. And in doing that, yeah, we do have the anti-man trait for Koyan of Light due to her second skill, but it's not really natural as part of Ciel's kit. You guys can see, just NP1 alone, yeah, we're looking at 487k neutral damage for NP1 outside of niche. Add in super effective demonic, this gets pretty darn dumb. And add in man trait from Koyanskaya, and we're just doing all right, even pretty strong. But then the fact that you can combine that both, we have an NP1 that's already hitting 900,000 neutral damage with an NP. That's pretty strong by wave 3. Now, naturally, for the first 2 waves here, definitely a little bit less in terms of damage. We're looking at it pretty much ending up being almost a third of the overall firepower that you're going to get on wave 3. Part of that's the synergy of, again, like Black Grail, Oberon, and again, the overcharge effect on her NP. All those sources of NP damage and Oberon boosting, it's going to be a ton. But these are still pretty respectable neutral numbers for what amounts to usually the less problematic waves. I will disclaim this saying, do remember in 90++ nodes, they don't function in conventional waves. We have had the high health enemy be as early as the first wave for a 90++ node. And again, now in JP, we even have things like 90 star nodes, but let's not get into that. Either way, definitely a strong set of circumstances. If we do the same setup though with the 5th append, we do have the ability to kind of shift forward the doubling up. This is going to help out primarily the wave 2 numbers as opposed to the wave 3 numbers. Wave 3 numbers are going to end up staying the same. Wave 2 going to be really, really solid. Now, let's look at her in comparison to, say, other units that might compete with her. So in that regard, OG BB, our welfare single target arts moon cancer. Yeah, you can absolutely secure. So again, someone like Ciel, definitely not a gotta have. You definitely do not have to have for when we start comparing the fact that you have a very capable and easy to acquire welfare out there. But I will say that obviously there is a damage gap here, as we have her basically dealing 50% more damage than BB at her best. So I think for the first two waves there, they're pretty comparable, but having that buster synergy and that extreme scalability of all of her effects is really helping Ciel pull away from someone like BB. We can compare to, again, an archer here, and you guys know I'm a huge fan of Squirtoria for obvious reasons, but naturally we can compare this. Squirtoria is not going to be our highest damaging archer, but we do naturally have quite a bit of firepower potential here. Squirtoria is going to have that sort of auto loop kind of function going on, but definitely you guys can see we've got some issues at play here. Do remember these are neutral numbers, so Castoria is going to basically be able to deal 2 times this. And again, someone like Ciel is only going to be able to deal 1.5 times her numbers, but it is an interesting comparison nonetheless. Same thing with someone like Demia here. You can see Demia gets a little bit stronger in terms of his overall NP damage. Demia is a little bit harder to loop with. We can still make it work basically by virtue of forcing it with Oberon and double Castoria nowadays. But naturally there is some amount of difficulty there if, say, we're in a more challenged environment. And then I think probably a more interesting comparison is going to be someone like Ptolemy. Ptolemy ends up having, if you remember, the AoE arts form for his older form, but for his younger form, he's single target buster. And so comparing the single target buster version of him where it is buster synergistic, yeah, you can see 380 here, which again is going to be 2 times against a saber versus basically, again, Ciel's 487 here. That's going to be 1.5 times. So naturally, we've got some competitive numbers here. And then again, I do think obviously we've got some other elephants in the room that I can at least mention. Units that are going to be competitive with her. We're going to be looking at units like Draco, units like Summer Castoria Berserker. Each and every one of those is naturally going to end up being a competitor to someone like Ciel at this point. She is absolutely worth your consideration. Don't let anyone tell you her damage is bad. It is not. It is certainly quite solid. Particularly that crit damage is going to end up being quite monstrous if you can manage to stack quite a few effects. So I do think she's going to be a very fun unit to use. Doubly so if you have someone like BB. But do keep in mind you might be able to work in someone like, say, Bunny. If you don't have BB, Bunny Artoria, she might have the capability to card shuffle in the second wave where you wouldn't normally have a dictated source of cards. That might help you out. You'd also get additional crit damage from it. So there are additional ways you can mix in units to try and get a little bit more out of Ciel. And I do think she's going to be a very strong unit for us in the future. Do I think she's going to be the most broken thing ever? No, I do think she's going to be really strong in a challenge environment. I think farming with her will be somewhat gimmicky and funny when we can pull it off, but I don't think you're going to see it work in every scenario. So I do think she'll be strong to acquire, fun to play with, but definitely not a must roll. So let me know what you guys think about Ciel. Which Ascension form is your favorite, and whether or not you're looking forward to the second banner. I will see you guys for the next video. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good one. Okay. Glad I have NP2 Squirt now. Well, keep in mind, right? Like the Squirt numbers are neutral as well. Like all the numbers we end up showing in this portion are neutral numbers. So naturally you have like, hey, actual like effectiveness being 2 times, semi-effective being 1.5 times, and neutral just being 1 times. So if we're talking neutral, this is what it's portrayed to be. But that does mean, like, say for instance for Squirtoria against a Saber, you can double these numbers basically, because she's just going to get all those effects even more. Anger Tsukihime fans, why would I do that? Why would I dare anger the Tsukihime fans, chat? Does Ciel give a kiss from a rose? No. The suit ascension is best. I'm definitely partial to it now that I know it's the Neco Arc ascension. Did you get a charge example for Black Grail Seal? What do you mean? Oh, you were asking Avalon. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at what chat was saying during that. Clearly the costume for Ascension 1. Yeah, I'll be curious to see if they end up doing like any sort of extra stuff there, but Ciel was definitely a long one, but she's a unit, especially with this third skill. Like, chat, the reason I wanted to give this an extra day is I wanted to see if I could come up with any other like applications for this. And one of the things, I didn't want to put it in the video, but one of the things I did talk with Avalon about is this concept. If you guys remember, we've talked about this before, okay? So Scotty Ruler comes into the game, and it really feels like for Scotty Ruler that they also, I kind of am getting to hate this, but it really feels like with Scotty Ruler, they were trying to shift you not just from critting with quick cards, but to critting with both quick and buster. It really felt like what they were trying to tell you with a quick comp was that, hey, I should probably end up doing something like critting a wave down. So like, I'm gonna NP crit NP, or I'm gonna crit the first wave and then NP, right? So that's what it felt like to me they were trying to do. This is not going to be applicable in every set of circumstances, but you could certainly have like a double Scotty setup with a damage dealer. But instead what you do is you go like double Scotty, Ciel, and then the damage dealer on the back line. And what you do is you turn one, the wave that you want to crit down, you basically force Ciel's cards, then you plug out Ciel, pull in the damage dealer, and now you have all the damage dealer's cards, and they crit the wave down with the Scotty buffs, and then end up basically just going on to NP from there. And that's an interesting prospect, as I do wonder if that's kind of what it's meant to do. The Summer 7 Okita comp? Yeah. The issue with that is card RNG? Right. And what Ciel does is Ciel is at least for one turn totally removing card RNG. Now, you do have an issue there, right? Because what you're going to need to have happen for that set of circumstances is you're probably looking at that damage dealer being a single target, right? Because you're locking all 5 cards in. Do you need the ability to stagger the cards? That's the only way something like that's going to work. But let's use an example of this, chat. What if we had a node that was 3-1-1? We crit down the first wave with staggered cards, and then the single target damage dealer goes on to loop over the next 2 waves. Now, in a weird way, you could just do that with Ciel, maybe. But it may be a case of maybe you're wanting to use quick, or it may be a case of maybe you're just wanting to use an effective damage dealer because maybe your Ciel isn't enough. So there is this interesting sort of scenario that could crop up where we suddenly start to see Ciel as this sort of pocket like you know, card shuffler that just kind of comes in, sets the cards to what they need to be, and gets the hell out. So you could force Ciel cards, swap for Summer BB, and lock all of her Summer BB cards. Yes, you could. If you wanted to make Summer BB be it, right? Or again, the example that I can show you guys that I myself have already kind of done is basically what I've been doing in these nodes, right? You guys kind of already saw this on full display. But let's show it to you again, right? So again, this is where I can basically use Ciel, plug suit out for Summer BB, bring BB into the second slot, and then essentially she's going to lock Ciel's cards for 3 turns. And that's very powerful. My Summer 7 comp was 2 times Castorius Saito, worked well. Yeah. I did crit everything with Okita and past 90 plus node. Yeah. These sorts of things are now going to be much more like manageable, but it's going to require certain sets of circumstances to be true, right? I do think you could also see Ciel, as we talked about, as like, hey, in a 3-1-3 node, Ciel's just going to end up being the one that handles the middle wave. That's definitely going to be a thing, especially since, I mean, even if she's not powerful enough on her own, chat, she has the ability to lock all of her cards. So you're going to get an NP. Like you can literally either secure essentially a mighty chain with her, or an NP buster chain, which is going to be by far more damage. So like, I'm not going to say they can't put something out of her reach damage-wise. They absolutely can. But I think with her NP damage, with the ability for her to just absolutely force her cards, that's going to be strong. I think you might even see some occasional nodes where it is like 3-1-X chat, where she comes in to handle that one. If that one is demonic, I think you're going to see scenarios where sometimes Ciel doesn't even need buffs. She just uses her own self buffs and kills the wave. And I think that's going to be pretty freaking nuts when that happens. No, so chat, just as a absolute disclaimer, I usually do not watch other content creators before I do my servant analyses. And the reason why, I don't want it in any way, shape, or form to impact my opinion. Have I seen it? No, absolutely not. Summer BB doesn't really need that because over 3 turns she'll draw and lock a Brave Chain. I wouldn't agree with that because here's why, right? Like, over 3 turns, she'll draw and lock a Brave Chain. Not necessarily. Like, maybe if you're also NPing with her, but there's no guarantee that you don't, like, say, for instance, let's say you want to, like, card with BB, right? How many turns you want to wait? Because, like, it's entirely possible on turn 1 that you receive 0 cards. And then on turn 2, you receive 0 cards. And then on turn 3, you finally receive all 5 of BB's cards, but you've now had to wait all the way till the 3rd turn before you card lock. Or maybe there's a scenario where you just keep getting like 1, and then 2, and then 2. And then maybe it's not in the pairings that you want. This is the issue with card RNG, is having the inability to dictate when you receive the cards. What's crazy strong about Ciel's 3rd skill here is I just get all of her cards that turn. Bye-bye RNG. Any card that I would want of Ciel's, I have it. Talking about 3-turn farming with NP. Yeah, if that's the case, you can do it, but it's still not going to be guaranteeable on turn 1. Does Summer BB have enough crit damage to clear a 1/1/1 node with her guaranteed cards? She has quite a bit of crit damage, but I think that would really depend on the circumstances. And that's why I was saying, like, to me, whether or not you pick like the 4th or the 5th append on Ciel's really going to depend on how you see yourself using her. At least in my opinion, right? Get Shufu in there since I have the space. Out of reach is a bit higher than it looks on her, thanks to her face card cheats. Yep. And see, like, you guys can see. So, for instance, oh, look, I actually got 3 seal cards here. Now, in theory, what I could do is I could not bother to lock this, like, and punt. And basically, if I had the 5th append, I could then get this skill on turns like on turns like 2 and 3. That would certainly be possible. However, RNG, right? So, like, why bother with that when I can just do one of these? And now I have all of Ciel's cards. Then I'm going to end up doing the Koyan Skya buff. And then I'm just going to end up throwing on the man trait that also gives the Buster charge. And so you guys can see here, without even, like, doing anything else, I now end up having all the soaking going on to her Buster cards. And part of the reason why has to do basically with the fact that her Buster up also gives the star soak to Buster cards. So naturally, even if I didn't have 50 stars, the Buster cards are still going to be the things that usually generate everything anyways. Now she's at full. Now she can NP. And now I can do a Buster NP Buster chain. And chat, I want you guys to pay attention specifically to Ciel's charge when I do this. Is this another slow one? It is. It's the happy variant. Okay, so there's 3 different variants. Holy crap. And there you go. Chat, 60% right there. Okay? That is just absurdly strong. And there I got the charge per turn tick, and now it's 70. So I only got like 3% off the extra, but I ended up getting 70% charge without really doing much of anything. So for instance, if I had Merlin on the back line, I could end up just going and being like, oh, whoops, hee, I did it. Now, what I did fuck up is I absolutely did not lock those cards. You're up against Berserker? Yeah, you're not wrong. What did I say about that? Did I address that during the video? Think about that. What MP level did you go to? I have NP3. Time to lock cards now? I mean, I could. Yes, you have. Yeah. So I said, remember, chat, 2 things. 1, outside of the summer event, she's not going to have bonus. I also said, 2, when we start looking at like 90 plus nodes especially, she's probably not going to be able to do this. Why? It's just going to be a health check. Pure and simple. You know what? I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna cheat, chat. And I'm gonna do a mighty chain. Because I can get away with this. Oh, there was the happy variant again. So the Mighty Chain made that arts card act as if it had an arts card lead in front of it as well. So that was a really good card for it. And then, now I can just shuffle, do it all again. I didn't even need Summer BB. Now, Did I get card RNG there? Yes, but I should have just swapped. So like, for instance, chat, this is how it would have looked on the first turn. I would have done the Koyan Skya buffs, I would have brought Summer BB in, and then I would have gone Kerplunk. And now I've got the cards for the next couple turns. But chat, also, behold, right? Like you said, oh, well, this is Berserkers. Here's a ruler. This is my actual counter class as a Moon Cancer. So damage bonus is going to win me out, but it'd be what it be. Outside of event with neutral damage, that will be the stress test. Yeah, I agree with that. Trying to think if there's something I could test it on. Because my current Ordeal Call node that I'm farming, it definitely would not work on. At least not long term. Well... Oh, we got another damage C. Yeah. I have a terrible idea. I have a terrible idea. And I want to see if it works. Oh no? Oh yes. Okay. What the hell have I been doing? Well, you know what? Oh, well, there's that. Do I have an MLB Fragment of 2030 on JP? Wow, really? Gotta love it. You got like 3 copies of the new one and 4 copies of the old one. That's where like getting the new variants just really freaking hurts. You should try the Helena node? No. No, this chat, this is a stress test. If you have never seen one, this is absolutely a stress test. I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna put a saber on my back line. This is all neutral? Oh, I'm aware. Let's see how much we get. Surely it won't go wrong? Oh, of course it's gonna go wrong. I know it's gonna go wrong, chat. I'm not anticipating it. That's why Merlin's here, okay? I think it's gonna do it, but mostly because of the Merlin buff. Yep. What's the difference between that and the new and the old 2030? I think the old one, yeah, it's like got like half the stars per turn, and then what else does it have? Oh god, this is going to go terribly wrong. You're damn right it is. Man, I got none of her cards. Gonna prioritize getting Merlin to his NP. Come on, AoE charge. You piece of shit! Stop that! I swear the AI calculates the best way to not get you to your NP. I swear it does, chat. Oof. Okay, so that was what? Like... Whoa. What? Oh, did my phone die? Yo, if my phone died, that's actually gonna piss me off. Because I got no warning. It did. I got no warning on that. That's my one complaint with the new iPhones. They are terrible for warning you when your battery's about to die. I think the stress test one, we're going to have to give it a minute here, chat. But no, like, it looked like the crit ended up doing, like... basically like 250k there, which remember, like with Merlin's third skill, it's only for the first turn, so that's pretty nuts still that did that. Like, that's still a lot of buster up that we had, but that's pretty damn strong for a neutral damage. I love Android. To be fair, my iPhone like 12, my iPhone 6, like both of them always warned me when my battery was low. This phone doesn't, and I freaking hate that it doesn't. Like, and it's easy. I just had to plug it in, but now I gotta wait for it to actually like recognize that it has enough power. Does warn me of the 20 and 10%. Yeah, this one does, but the way it does is just a small little pop-up in the corner. And I think, like, when I have it on Do Not Disturb mode, like I do for streaming, I don't think it gives me the pop-up. Just for games? Work game, a phone, just for office calls? Yeah. Is there a setting you can toggle that? I don't know. I'll have to check. It only gave you a warning at 20% that one time? Did it? It probably doesn't for Do Not Disturb. Yeah. So, like, part of it is, too, that I need, I think I need a surge protector is what I need. Because, like, I've got to get, it's gonna remind me. Let me, on the side over here, let me order a surge protector. Because, like, I need another one for my stream room here. And I needed to not be garbage. Because, like, I literally, I don't have any more plugs as part of the issue. What the heck is that? Okay, now it's back on. Yeah, I hate that. It's like it goes dead and then it has to charge for like X amount before it has enough to even function. Okay, chat. We're coming back in. Sorry about that. APC surge protectors are my favorite. Stops the surge at the outlet. Okay. Yeah, we used to have some APC like batteries in the office, and I hated them. But I hated them because like when they would get low, they would beep, and we wouldn't change them out, and it was super annoying. So like that was more of a like a battery backup type deal. But yeah. Okay, so yeah, so let's see. So this is before the turn finished. So we were at 1,000. I just want to see how much damage this does, because it shouldn't change the seed with me not touching anything else. Okay, it was less than I thought. Yeah, so it was only about 130k neutral. But still, like, this is just a set of Merlin and Koyan Skya buffs. And we didn't have the crit damage up for Merlin. So, honestly, 130k neutral with 2 Buster buffs? That's solid, chat. And that was one Buster card, really. The Arts card didn't do jack crap, nor did Koyan Skya's quick card. So, like, basically, we're looking at, you know, like, again, like, maybe we can shave this. It was maybe, like, 110 instead. But, yeah, like, I don't know. I think that's still pretty solid numbers, all things considered. You could use Merlin's skill, too. I could have, yeah. I just didn't want to waste it. I'm gonna need it. Now, again, that was with no Buster buff. Oh, I wish he had attacked one more time. Do I want to save this for the synergy? I think we do. I think we're just gonna take the arts cards here. This will take a bit now. Oh no, I knew it was gonna do that. You guys wanted to see her outside the event, and that's what I wanted to see as well. I really wanted to see the actual like damage numbers in play. We'll go ahead and pop that just so I have it for the second skill. Because this is not going to kill him. Hey, at least Vitra's demonic, so niche. Oh, true! Yeah, I didn't even think about that. We'll also get to see niche damage. And we got the happy variant again. What the hell? What is with my streamer luck? Okay. Oh yeah. It's carding time, chat. It's carding time. Okay, this is double buster buff. Did 129 neutral. Still not quite enough to kill. I swear she does this on purpose. So I think it's time we got rid of that and we transition into invincible comp. Because I'm in trouble otherwise. I wonder if Shufu can death proc the dragon. Maybe. I mean, dragons themselves are not particularly, like, easy to death proc, but it's usually because they're gold enemies like this. Gold enemies usually are just difficult. Okay. Gonna do that. Reverse mighty chain. I gotta get Merlin out of the danger zone though, is why. Yep, I figured that would kill. 0.2 death rate, that's a definitive no. Yeah. And that's why it's like, you'll see, it's like, oh, like Ciel, like, hey, she's got a 100% death rate. And it's like, yeah, it just doesn't actually, like, do something, right? Like, you always think it's going to, but it's usually not as robust as people make it out to be. Let's do that. She starts to hit hard. I need to consider how I want to play this. We're gonna invert that. Go for a reverse mighty chain again. Mine, thank you for the 45. How are you doing today, bud? NP3 and 3 multis? Holy crap. That's pretty insane. Okay, so doing okay. I'm gonna risk it again for another turn. I'm not trying to like stall to the NP. I'm literally just trying to get Ciel to her NP herself. But I need them to actually hit somebody other than Merlin. Holy crap. All right. Who can play at that game? Well, I guess I could have popped Merlin's invuln, but I really didn't want to. I want to hold that for emergency. Of course, I love how then at that point they don't hit anybody. That would be problematic for them. Okay. Opposite of me, I rolled NP5 Jane for NP1 Spishy. Oof. There's a chance, yeah. Add death proc chance to Shufu Day for the notes like I did with Noman. Yes, you probably should. That will definitely help things out. Okay. Don't worry, chat. It will not go as slow as this. Okay. Merlin usually has the easier time getting to his NP. Usually. But I want to be ready to do it again. Had enough Janes to 120 and do all 3 appends. I believe it. Gotta love that debuff resist. Friggin' 70% debuff resist. Actually, hers isn't 70 for me right now, but that's skill seal? Okay. As long as it's skill seal and not MP seal. So, I'm actually not going to NP with her this turn. And the reason why is going to be that basically I'm really well positioned to NP next turn. Go. Actually, should probably be putting Merlin's NP first. She has the NP damage up overcharge. And usually the reason you do it with the Buster MP first, because you're usually using someone like Morgan who has overcharge on MP. So there's really no reason to be putting Merlin second. It's just more stars, basically. Only 2 million HP left to go. No, what I'm saying is this will begin to like speed up as right now I'm happy to play it really cautious. Because Merlin's super low on health. Okay. Like, you're just gonna see me start just like hard carding her. And again, the anti-demonic is actually pretty well helping. Chat, I know this doesn't seem impressive. I want to tell you that I've had to do something like this when my comp fell apart. This is so much better managed and way more damage than what I had been doing when the comp fell apart. So like, she truly is strong even if she doesn't seem like it right here. Yeah, I gotta be careful. Castoria's in a spicy situation. Wow. How did you manage that, AI? How did you actually manage that? That's impressive. 98, 97, and 97. What the actual fuck? I swear this AI calculates this stuff. Okay, screw it. We're just gonna do this. We're just gonna protect the party. And that's why I sat on that. That's just so dumb. And I'm gonna take the Castoria Brave Chain because it's a chance for overcharge. Hey, I said fuck you. It really did. AI be preying upon my downfall here. Chat, I know we didn't get to the visual novels tonight. I'm sorry about that, but the seal analysis took longer than I wanted it to. Okay, we're all skill sealed, which is kind of unfortunate, but also kind of not. Because I'm just gonna NP again. I would have had a stronger NP were I not skill sealed. Garden of Avalon. So I can also end up getting rid of the snake if I need to, but the snake is actually not that big of an issue. Because what it does is it's actually ending up taking an action away from Vitra. And Vitra hits hard. So it's kind of nice to actually, like, even though I have to deal with the second NP from the snake, it's basically just better than allowing Vitra full reign. The arts downs kind of suck, though. That's definitely not helping me. Okay, you're gonna give her the buster up. I'm gonna go ahead and pop that, because this is probably the best damage scenario I'm gonna run into. Oh, she's got the double arts downs. I guess it depends on how much arts down that is. If it's only like 10%, that's nothing. If that's like a 50% arts down, this was stupid. Oh, we got the happy one again. There you go. She gone. And there you go. It's as shrimpful as that, chat. Got the death proc. See, chat, you guys said it was gonna take 30 turns. We lied. Easy 3 turn, yeah. Easy 3 turn times 7. That's the crux of it. First try. It was first try. I didn't mess up in that regard. Well, other than my phone shut off in the middle of it, but that was its own issue, right? But all right, that's gonna be it for me tonight, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me find somebody to love. Let me send you guys over Fox's way. I haven't gotten to raid Fox this week, I feel like. Or if I did, it was like at the beginning of the week. I don't remember, but anyways, like I said, I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow should be, you know, again, we'll cover basically, I'm thinking Dobrynya, and then we will end up doing like Fate's Day Night, because I should be able to get to it tomorrow night. So again, Dobrynya is a lot more straightforward than someone like Ciel is. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys as always. If you guys haven't already, check me out on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and join the Discord. Again, we're always happy to have you. We just got to 3,000 members of the Discord not too long ago. So I hope to see you guys on there. And again, go give Fox my love, and good night.